What do you know about the Coliseum? That was a boom time development, wasn't it?
It was pretty much the place where people went.
Sure.
For entertainment. I mean, you hear some of the stories of the bands that played there, and it was amazing.
Most of the big white swing bands, I think, played there. And because it was in the segregation area, the counterpart in the black community was on 22nd Street South with the Manhattan Casino.
Correct.
And of course, they had all the big name bands come there and play as well.
The Coliseum in the 20s and 30s was kind of like the Amalie Arena of today, where everybody who was anybody musically performed there. But didn't some of the acts perform at the Coliseum and then that same night leave and go play at the
Absolutely,
Manhattan?
they sure did. And sometimes they would gather for impromptu jam sessions in people's houses, I'm told.
That's very cool.
Yes, it is.
Hi, my name is Megan Orlando. I'm the Emergency Management Specialist for the Office of Emergency Management in St. Petersburg, Florida. I'm here to talk about Alert Pinellas. Alert Pinellas is our emergency notification tool. That's how we get our emergency notifications out to the public and to our communities. Alert Pinellas can distribute a wide range of notifications, watches and warnings for tornadoes, storm surge, high winds. It can alert for shelter evacuations, for boil water notices, and hazardous materials incidents. You can register for Alert Pinellas using the link on the screen. You can register with your email, with text messages, or to receive a phone call. Pro tip, you can add the Alert Pinellas phone number to your phone, so that way you know when you're getting a call from us. Opting into Alert Pinellas is the best way to ensure that you receive emergency notifications from your partners at the City of St. Pete and Pinellas County. Every storm creates its unique hazards, so follow city socials to stay up to date on the most important information.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. We also have the November 6th, 2025 minutes before us. Do we have a motion for approval?
Move approval.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, great. Motion passes there as well. On to today's new business. We have potential actions to appropriately recognize the historic significance of the Lincoln Cemetery and the Greenwood Cemetery. Councilmember Driscoll, this was your new business item from a while ago, so I'll let you start us off.
Thank you so much, and good morning, everyone. I'm happy to be bringing this forward. We have two cemeteries that we'll discuss today that each has its own historic significance in our city. And of course, that's something that we want to find ways to recognize, and without really having a specific ask, I wanted us to have that discussion after we learn about each cemetery and where each one stands right now. Maybe I'm hoping that Derek will present some different options to us, and we can talk about a way forward to appropriately recognize each of these cemeteries. So we have Derek Kilborn with us today, our Director of Planning and Development, and then also Rui Farias, who is the Executive Director of the St. Petersburg Museum of History. Rui has been working diligently on reestablishing a group to shepherd and oversee the Greenwood Cemetery. When I first brought this new business item forward, the ownership was actually quite questionable because the group that owned it, the last remaining person had passed away, and so even the codes communications were sent to a bank. A lot has changed since then, and Rui has been one of the leaders in sort of bringing that back together. So I was hoping we could start with Greenwood Cemetery so that Rui can share what he knows, and then we'll go from there. So with that,
Yeah, great. Thanks for joining us. Go ahead.
Okay, great. Thank you, Derek Kilborn, Director of Planning. So what we've done today is put together a presentation. We've structured it into three parts. As you just heard, Greenwood is the first section. Rui's going to walk you through some photographs and talk to you about his experience and update related to Greenwood. Then I will present part two, which is related to the Oaklawn Cemetery, Evergreen, and Moffett cemeteries and their nexus or connection to the Lincoln Cemetery. And then our third part of the presentation will deal with Lincoln Cemetery specifically and walking you through some of the annexation history and setting you up for kind of a group discussion here about what you might want to consider in terms of next steps with Lincoln. So what I'll do here first is just kind of explain to you, we do have these two maps that we put in to assist or support your discussion on Greenwood Cemetery. The first one is showing you the National Register District that is covering the historic Rosa Park neighborhood. It's a little more expansive than the local, and you can see how it connects to or adjoins the Greenwood Cemetery in the lower left corner of the slide. And then you can see with the historic Rosa Park local landmark district, the local landmark district is a much tighter footprint and does not connect to the Greenwood Cemetery. And so we can come back and use these maps to support your discussion later. But at this point, we'll turn the presentation over to Rui, and he's going to walk you through his section on Greenwood. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. Thank you so much for inviting me here. This has been, if you're not familiar with Greenwood, it is the oldest cemetery in St. Petersburg. It is not the oldest burial place. There's a graveyard that is older than that. When we were doing all this research, I actually learned the difference between a graveyard and a cemetery. Do we know?
Nope. Interested.
Graveyard's attached to a church. A cemetery is a standalone built piece of property. And this is near and dear to my heart, because I grew up about 2 blocks away from Greenwood, and been going there since I was about 8. I'm one of those history geeks that have always loved cemeteries, and Greenwood has always played a big part in my life. So when I became a teacher at St. Pete High, part of my class's annual projects were to go clean the cemetery. We spent numerous weekends there. So I wanted to give you some historical facts on the cemetery so you have a little background on it, if that's okay. Henry Bussey was a gentleman who arrived in St. Petersburg in 1895. Henry Bussey was a professional photographer. There wasn't much need for a professional photographer when you have a town of 300 people. So he decided he had to do something else for a living, and he opened our first funeral home. From that point, he basically teamed up with Captain Zephaniah Phillips and purchased this 5-acre piece of land from Sarah Williams, the widow of General John Williams, the founder of our city. So they opened Greenwood Cemetery in 1896. And from that point forward, the records, of course, going that far back, are a little bit murky. Basically, the cemetery has always been privately owned. It was first owned by those two gentlemen, and then they sold off pieces of the land, of course, for use of cemeteries to other families. At the time that the cemetery opened up on MLK, it was pretty much the end of the city limits. It was the highest point of the city limits at that time. And so it was the perfect place to build a cemetery like that in the late 1800s. So just to give you some background on who is actually buried there, it's like a who's who of founding families of our city. John Bethel, who is the Big Bayou pioneer, is buried there. David Moffett, our first mayor. A gentleman by the name of Alman Stroger, who he wasn't from St. Pete, but he would visit here every year, and he passed away here. He invented the electric direct dial telephone. He's buried there. Silas Dent, yes, there's a real person that the restaurant was named after. The Hermit of Cabbage Key, he's buried there, as is Mary Davis, who was our first female physician in the city of St. Pete. And the list just goes on and on and on, including the Blocker family, who still own the oldest existing business here in St. Pete. And you're looking at the family site of the Bussey family, who are of course, still buried there. So as time went on, there's David Moffitt's headstone. As time went on and we continued and the museum started to get involved, we were given by the Bussey family, the last remaining person that we know of there in St. Pete from the Bussey family, we got all the original plat maps to the cemetery. So my archivist and I would spend every Saturday walking through the cemetery to see if the people were indeed, the tombstones matched the actual plat maps. And it became obvious that the cemetery was in dire need of some, TLC. So this, and I remember going there one day and seeing a piece of paper taped to the entrance, and I, of course, opened it, and it was a lien from the city for going in and cutting the grass. So this prompted the whole investigation of like, what is going on here? Like, who owns this cemetery? Our first stop was the state of Florida, and the state of Florida still thinks that the cemetery is owned by a group that's housed in the Union Trust Bank, Central Avenue, which hasn't been a bank in about 20 years. So that's a problem, yeah. And the city codes folks were also a little perplexed because, as Councilwoman said, that there were the last known person involved with the cemetery ownership, because those families formed an association, which became an LLC, that oversaw the cemetery. The last known person passed away in 2020. So it was just by sheer luck. What we do, one of the things that we do at the museum is we do historical trolley tours. And I was taking a group on this historical trolley tour, and one of our stops is Greenwood. And I was talking about the cemetery, and of course, someone raised their hand and said, "Why does it look like this?" And I explained the whole ownership thing, and a woman in the back of the trolley raised her hand, and she goes, "I know who owns the cemetery." So she now is my new best friend. So she introduced me to an estate attorney who actually took over everything from the last survivor of the association. So that's how we got this ball rolling. So where we are now. So all that documentation, and we received all of it. We have every check stub written by that cemetery since like 1920. You name it, we have it now. And so all of that has been transferred over to our archives, and the business part of it, like the board meetings and things like that, is in the hands now of John Hamilton, a local attorney here in St. Pete, who's volunteered to take this over. So John has been working with the estate attorney and the state of Florida. So where we are right now is we have created he's creating a new LLC under Sunbiz that will become a new nonprofit that will take over ownership and management of the cemetery. So I reached out to Joe Greiner, who has been involved in this city for a million years as an engineer and on numerous committees. Joe's family arrived here in the 1800s, and they're buried there, actually. So he's agreed to be the new president of this group. And so there'll be, the original group will be Joe Greiner, myself from the museum, the past president of the Petersburg Neighborhood Association, and the estate attorney. And then once we get all the paperwork done, signed off on, we're going to reach out to other community leaders to join this organization. So our goals, and I'm going to show you a few more. These are all older photos. So the Springstead family is also buried there. That's the citrus owning family that owned most of Crescent Lake and Crescent Heights. This picture was taken in 1900 when those monuments were placed there in the center of the cemetery that are still there today. And just some of the earlier burials. I think that's Bethel's, actually. So the cemetery is still legally an active cemetery. From what I can tell, the last person that was buried there was in 2018. So I'm trying to find out, like, who gave them permission to bury somebody there in 2018? Because I already picked out a spot that I want to be.
Which is why we're here today.
My wife is watching this now. She's probably.
There you go. So our goal, obviously, is to complete this legal organization that will then take over the cemetery and take over care of it. We just had a huge community cleanup there. We actually had a local arborist who volunteered to come in, removed all the dead trees, and cleaned up everything that was left over from the storms, including the one tree that was starting to push over one of the walls on 11th Avenue South. He had a crew of about 14 guys there for all day one Saturday, doing all this work for free. So this association, there is some funding there that's available to the association that is left over, and I've already been checking with the state of Florida. There are a number of grants that we're going to apply for to help take care of the cemetery. Our goal, other than to create this group that will look over the cemetery, is to create or build like a park-like atmosphere in Greenwood, much to like a number of the cemeteries in Savannah and Charleston and places like that. The neighborhood association loves this idea, so that is our one of our bigger goals. I've already reached out to the theater program at Gibbs High School about doing guided tours of the cemetery once it's completed, and have their students dress up as the people that are buried in the cemetery and portray them in these guided tours and stuff. So we're looking to finally get the cemetery cleaned up the way it should be and restored and make it available and accessible to the public. That's where we are.
Thank you.
Sure.
Before we move on to the Part 2, Part 3 Lincoln Cemetery discussion, I don't know if you wanted to handle questions on Greenwood.
Yeah, I think we could do it
Okay.
like that. Go ahead, Councilmember Driscoll.
Thank you, and thank you for that background.
Sure.
It's such a fascinating story. When you are thinking about, I want to know how we can help, how the city can help with this. And one of the things that I thought about was helping with some type of historic designation, and because that could actually be useful to them when they're applying for grants.
Definitely.
So there are different kinds of historic designations, and so I had asked Derek, who in turn worked with his staff to look into what type of historic designation might be appropriate in this case.
Actually, both of them would be appropriate here. So you have National Register individual listing, which would just be the cemetery by itself. You could amend the National Register district boundary by going in and amending the original National Register listing. That could be a little more difficult because what you're doing is you're opening up a new discussion for all parcels in the National Register district. That could be a positive in helping us kind of clean up some of the boundaries. If you, I'm going to just go back here. You can see the original National Register boundary has some unusual twists and turns to it. This is not typically how you would do a district boundary, especially National Register. So if we were to go back in and open up the National Register district boundary, we could have a new discussion about including the remaining balance of parcels that were in that middle section that were left out. So there is a positive, there's a potential liability there too, that something else happens with the district boundary that contracts it. You also have the option of doing local historic district or local individual listing. The local historic district option would be more difficult because, as you can see, the district boundary itself is much tighter along the creek bed itself and does not actually connect to the cemetery boundary today. So an alternative suggestion here would be to probably prioritize a individual local landmark listing for the cemetery rather than a district. So individual local or one of the two National Register options. Both of those options would unlock access to different incentives that are out there or potentially score you a little better on a grant application because you can show that there is some protection in place. The other distinction to consider is that National Register gets you access to the incentives, but it does not come with the added layer of regulation through a certificate of appropriateness. So the National Register is a little looser because, again, it gets you the incentive, but does not come with the COA requirement. Local designation, it would require COAs for any exterior modifications. In this case, there aren't many buildings or structures that we would be reviewing. There would be the perimeter wall around the outside. There would be the monuments in the middle. And then in talking to our historic preservation staff, I understand that sometimes what will happen as well is they would identify in the local designation report some specific grave sites if there is something unique to either the monument or the family plot or the family itself. Those could be included and itemized as character defining elements of the local designation. So it wouldn't have to be a full review of every grave site every time something's changing. You could kind of isolate that down to specific plots or sites. So there are multiple options, National Register and local, local individual, and National Register individual or National Register district are your three best pathways.
Thank you. So I would be open to any of these. I really want to find out how we can, what would be most useful to Rui and the rest of the organization that's forming around this. It sounds like the National Register, but I don't know if you guys have talked about it or if you've looked into this and have a preference.
I mean, just a brief conversation that we had, and I kind of looked at Derek to lead this. This is his expertise. So, I mean, that you're right, though. I mean, the first step that we could, in assistance from the city, would be to figure out how we get one of these designations. I mean, to me, it sounds like the local one would be the best, but I'm going to leave that to you.
It is important to remember, too, that the cemeteries do have some state level protection in place as well. So it wouldn't have to, designation would not have to be a necessary first step to kind of move forward on Rui's work or other things that we've talked about. Like it could enhance a grant application, but the cemeteries are already kind of considered unique historic assets, and so they're already set up in a way that just regular structures are not. So we can, Rui and I have only talked in the context of preparing for this meeting and presentation, but we can continue that discussion and we can continue to work with his team and that kind of developing board to counsel them about the different options and when might be the best point on the timeline to advance a designation. It might be better for the board to kind of come together and start to talk about what their plan is for the cemetery so that the designation isn't getting in front of something where it becomes more of a constraint or an impediment than a benefit.
Right, thank you.
Great. Any other committee members, council members?
I had a quick question.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Looking down the road, and I'm just curious, either one of those designations time prohibitive? Does it make one more appealing to the other based on we can't get that done for a year, 2 years? Or are they the process?
On a calendar, local is going to move faster than a national because you would do a new business item to city initiate the designation of the cemetery. We bring it to the commission the following month. It comes to you the 2.5 months, and the process is complete. National Register is a little more because we would be working through the State Historic Preservation Office with the Federal Secretary of Interior and National Park Service, so that process is longer, National Register.
And does one preclude anything in the other, or does one limit anything in the other?
It does not. National Register is more honorary. It does not come with that COA requirement. So, and that is one of the liabilities with opening up National Register districts. This wouldn't be a concern here in Rosa Park, but because we don't regulate modifications and demolitions in National Register districts, when you open it back up, there's a new evaluation of all the parcels. And you might get a response back from State Historic Preservation Office and federal that the structures in that National Register district have been modified so significantly or so many have been demolished that the basis for the National Register district no longer exists.
Right.
And they might suggest substantially contracting it or just taking the boundary away. Again, that wouldn't be the case here in Rosa Park. It still has very strong historic integrity, but when you open that back up, that is what happens.
Fair enough. Rui, thank you very much for all your work on this. I mean,
Our pleasure.
5 minutes of you talking is absolutely fascinating and makes my day. I think you've taught more than me a whole bunch about where we've come from. Greatly appreciated. Thank you, Chair.
Great. All right. I have one quick question about the national district map. Just what led to it looking like this?
This is one of the oldest districts in the city, and so I don't know that there was a real strong connection or understanding to how district lines are established, and there I'm speculating.
Yeah.
But there probably was a, hey, are you in or out? Yes or no? Oh, you're a no. Okay, we'll just kind of carve your parcel out.
Okay.
And that would not be how we do that.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, why would someone not want to be included in this if, there wasn't any regulatory things associated with it?
There's always going to be concern among people that one action leads to another. So, if you are concerned about what designation means generally, even though we would say National Register doesn't come with any regulatory constraint, they may see that as a gateway to something else in the future that they don't like. So,
Okay. All right, that makes sense. Thank you very much for that. All right, we can go to the next.
All right. It's a little off subject, but since you asked the question, I will just take this opportunity to remind anybody who's watching that National Register listing qualifies for an ad valorem tax exemption and possibly a federal rehabilitation tax credit if you are an income-generating property. And you do not have to be locally designated in order to take advantage of those two benefits. There's been a lot of significant renovation in our National Register districts that have not taken advantage of the ad valorem tax exemption. And if they just had filed paperwork at the beginning of their project, phase 1, and paperwork at the end of their project, phase 2, they could have captured the value derived from those improvements. And so that is something on the education side we've been talking about, is how do we connect with those homeowners and let them know they have that option now, even though they're not local. Okay. For this middle section, what we wanted to do was just kind of go back through our cemetery work, which was initiated in March 2020, regarding the Oak Lawn Cemetery at 16th Street and 5th Avenue South, the Evergreen and Moffett cemeteries also at that intersection location. So I'm not going to read through all of these, but in your packet, and you've seen this presentation before, a timeline of our work on those cemeteries. And our work included some initial information collection. What is the history of these 3 cemeteries? That was put together in a publication from our office in March of 2020. And that was then the basis for us to go out and do phase 1 and phase 2 ground penetrating radar work at those 3 locations. And you can see on this map here, this is showing you kind of the orientation of the 3 cemeteries. So when these come up in conversation, you can kind of visually see where those cemeteries were previously located in relation to current context. And the reason that we have this in the presentation today is because we're talking about Lincoln, and we wanted to include different ordinances and articles from that time period that show a clear nexus or connection from the closure and removal of burial sites from these 3 cemeteries to Royal Palm and Lincoln Cemetery at 58th Street. And so the information that we included in the presentation starts with Ordinance 440, where it starts to talk about the 3 cemeteries being closed and relocation of those burials to the Royal Palm and Lincoln locations. And so as you move through some of the different articles that we've just clipped and put into here, you can see that there are numerous references to the burial sites being relocated to those 2 cemeteries. You can see on this particular slide here a reference to Monroe McCrae, who was doing some of the work, relocation work at that time. And that name is important because you'll see a McCrae connection to Lincoln Cemetery in the 3rd part. Okay, so in the 3rd part related to Lincoln Cemetery specifically, just to help us reorient at 58th Street location, you can see on the map here, 58th Street, 1st Avenue South. The red hatch line is identifying the municipal boundary for the city of St. Petersburg currently. And you can see that Lincoln Cemetery sits just across the Pinellas Trail in the city of Gulfport. So not in the city of St. Petersburg today. So this particular timeline that we have in the presentation is tailored more specifically to Lincoln Cemetery and identifying some of the history related to that location. You can see the first line in 2018, that there was a funding allocation initially approved through Pinellas County for service and needs at that Lincoln Cemetery site. Unfortunately, at that time, there was an ownership dispute regarding the title, and that money was then allocated towards other county services. That ownership dispute has since been resolved. And you can see as we kind of move through 2020 to 2024, these are the different actions from the city relating to the cemeteries at 16th. And then in 2024, you start to see specific action, again, picking up with regards to the city council and our city mayor's office. So in 2024, in August, you had a budget priority funding request that was made by Councilmember Fig Sanders. And it was determined at that time, because Lincoln Cemetery is located outside the municipal boundary of the city of St. Pete, that we could not honor that request at the time. And then just continuing through some of the highlights here, in the following month, September of 2024, we received a request for financial support from the current owner, Cross and Anvil. And again, it was determined that there are funding limitations because it is outside the boundary of the city. So to kind of pick up on the discussion then about annexation, and is there some opportunity to move the cemetery back into the city, in November of 2024, Mayor Kenneth Welch and our CDA Administrator James Corbett met with the then Gulfport mayor, Sam Henderson, and their city manager, James O'Reilly, to discuss not only post-storm cleanup and maintenance, but also future potential for annexation back into the city. And you can see then in 2025, this past summer, July and September, that we've continued to work on this question with the new administration at the city of Gulfport to identify whether there was additional things that could be done in terms of ownership regarding the cemetery. So I just put these in here to show you some of the prior conditions and post-annexation conditions. This is a picture of a plat map that we use in the zoning office. When I started with the city in 2000, this is how we answered zoning questions. We referred to this book, and this book tells us all the zoning information that we need. You can see the Lincoln Cemetery is identified down in the lower left corner. This particular sheet was from 1958, and you can see that the cemetery was still located within the municipal boundary of the city of St. Petersburg. So this predated the de-annexation into Gulfport. And then this particular plat map is showing you notations regarding the de-annexation ordinance, and this particular map page was from 1970. I'm excited to have these in here because Rui always brings so much color and texture to his presentations, and then I give you the boring technical government stuff. All right, so there was some question about intention and also the ordinances themselves. So on the question of intention, why was this de-annexed? We can only speculate why it was annexed, de-annexed, or annexed. But as we work through the ordinances themselves, one thing that we can see and learn from this information is that the de-annexation was initiated by the owners of those properties at the time. So you can see that the list of legal owners was included in this Gulfport ordinance, including Harold Anderson Lumber, the Benefields, Little League Baseball, you can see Griffin, and then you can see McRae's, specifically Monroe McRae's identified in this ordinance. So there is a connection, an official linear connection from the landowners requesting de-annexation, and that being executed through this Gulfport ordinance. So the ordinance for annexation was approved in Gulfport and signed November 7th, 1967. And you can see here's the list of owners here. And then you have the St. Pete ordinance for de-annexation that was signed on November 16th. So we thought it was important to include this background information in the presentation as well, just to give you some additional context, what was happening at that time, and including the signed ordinances to show the annexation and de-annexations were, in our opinion, proper. Okay? That concludes our initial presentation, and we can try to answer any questions you might have related to it.
Great. We'll start with you, Councilmember Fixon.
I'm not a member of this committee, so I'm just.
No one else is jumping out.
Oh, okay, very good. So first of all, good morning, everybody. I wanted to also thank you for the presentation. I did look at this prior to, but I also want to welcome Pastor Clarence Williams, who's also here as well, if you have any questions of him. And I think, and please help me if I'm wrong, this is the correct boundary? What date for the Lincoln Cemetery date is this from? Who actually put this together?
This, I created this aerial image for the slide presentation. This is just showing existing conditions. So everything north of the hatched red line is City of St. Petersburg. The hatched line is also the Pinellas Trail.
Okay.
And then south of the Pinellas Trail and that red line is City of Gulfport.
Okay. Can I ask Pastor Williams, is that his understanding?
With all due respect, I don't think.
Come up.
Just briefly
Sit right there.
introduce yourselves
Okay,
over
can I
to
show you first?
Wait.
And you all are busy, and I don't want, these two streets, you can verify them, are in the city of St. Pete. The signs turn green or blue, somebody, Gulfport's green or blue, whatever. but this is not correct. You might need to go.
Okay.
Okay. So I just wanted to make sure that we had that clarification of where the actual boundaries are. And if you can do that for me, Derek, that will be phenomenal. And again, I'm glad that we're actually having this conversation because so many of us have been having it for such a long time. And I'm looking forward to trying to bring definitely some relevance back to the Lincoln Cemetery. And when I hear the McCray name that's also associated with this, Derek, if we can, and I know I was on the phone listening to the first part of it, but if we could look, and thank you, Councilmember Driscoll, also for actually bringing this item here. And I think it was very wise to pull all of the cemeteries together in doing this. And so, but I am even more particularly interested in Lincoln. So once you get that information, if you would, to kind of give us a feedback on if those because if those boundaries are actually accurate, that changes a whole lot of perspective in regards to the funding of it.
Yeah.
So I would appreciate that. Thank you, Chair.
Is there something you want to?
Chair, if I may.
Well, yeah, go ahead. And
Well, Heather's about to burst over there. So.
if you,
Yes,
if you
ma'am.
got something you want to add,
She's
please
about to
do.
burst.
Okay, so as far as the boundaries, Lincoln Cemetery is in the boundary of Gulfport. And it has been since the ordinances, but also that ordinance predates the first municipal charter under home rule for City of Gulfport. So in 1968, we had the home rule charter, state of Florida, and then cities were able to do their own charters. Before that, every charter of every city, including St. Petersburg, was set by state law. And that includes the setting of municipal boundaries. And so I found the law of Florida, it's chapter 69-1086, and that set the boundaries for Gulfport after this, and it does include Lincoln Cemetery because it's talking about, and it's going the eastern boundary of the right-of-way to 58th Street South, north along the said east right-of-way approximately 600 feet to the southern boundary of the right-of-way of the Seaboard Coastline Railroad. That's the Pinellas Trail because it was active railroad then. So this section, it does include Lincoln Cemetery. And then when they made their charter, a few years later, it also includes that boundary, which you see today in the Gulfport charter when they're describing their city boundaries.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Just want to make that clear.
No. I need you to make that clear. Okay. All right. Well, thank you. But that's the only question I wanted.
Okay, Derek,
Heather provided a perfect distraction, so while you were listening to her, I modified the map.
I watched.
Pastor Williams is correct. The city of St. Pete, and I apologize because I made the slide. The city of St. Petersburg boundary comes down 58th Street. So those parcels to the west that are now clearly shown are in the city of St. Petersburg. They have single-family residential zoning and NTM1 zoning right on 58th. The area shaded in gray east of 58th is city of Gulfport. What I'll edit this slide, and after the meeting today, I'll reissue back to you through your aides.
Okay. All right, Councilmember Harding, you have.
Thank you, Chair. So we're clear, and I think I know the answer, but I want to make sure. Who has legal control over that property? Do we know? Who has legal control? Do you have legal control, or does the church have?
If you could come to the microphone so people that are watching can hear you.
The community owns it, Mike. We're the custodians. That's the word I like to use.
Understood. But if we're
If legal possession is what you're looking, yes, Crossing Avenue Human Services are the owners of record.
okay,
that's what you-
thank you, Pastor. That's what I was wondering about.
Yeah.
And this, I'm not sure if this is the direction we're taking this discussion, but with the historical significance that that cemetery has to the city itself, we could re-annex it, couldn't we? With permission from the landowner, or with initiation from the?
It would have to be contracted out of Gulfport first. We cannot raid another
Right.
municipality.
Right, no, what I'm saying is, I get that. Although we're bigger than them, we could take them.
Dear.
I'll help you, Mike.
What I'm saying is that and correct me if I'm wrong, but the landowner could initiate that, couldn't they?
The landowner can petition for it. The governing body shall by ordinance propose the contraction of municipal boundaries as described in the ordinance and provide an effective date. So for Gulfport to de-annex, it would require that there would be a majority of the de-annexation area ownership, which in this case would be Cross and Anvil. They would have to consent to that de-annexation. But that process would have to be completed by Gulfport. Then it would go back to being unincorporated Pinellas County, because the character of the area to be annexed, it cannot be within another municipality for us to initiate any process.
Understood. I'm just saying that the process is possible. Initiated by whoever owns the land.
It is possible, but I will also caveat that with, you have to comply with Florida Statute 171.043, character of the area to be annexed. And there are criteria there that because no one is living on the property, there are no actual electors, voting residents, may make it more difficult. It's an unusual situation. I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's not as easy if it was saying annexing this and the mobile home park next to it.
That's why I was asking, in the event of no voting population, then would it naturally defer to just the landowner, regardless of whether they live on that land or not?
Well, yes, for the consent,
Yeah.
yes. But for the qualification to be annexed into a municipality, for example, some of it, the criteria is must be developed for urban purposes. An area developed for urban purposes is defined as any area which meets following standards, has a total resident population equal to at least 2 persons for each acre of land included within its boundaries. So there are some criteria that because of this are unique. Now, are those able to be waived in this situation because it's a cemetery that used to be part of it? I'm not sure, but that might also be why when there was a de-annexation, it wasn't just Lincoln Cemetery, it was several of those other parcels.
Right, understood.
So it is workable, but it's not easy.
Understood. Thank you very much for that. So Derek, to go to another point that you brought up. At some point in time, I think if I remember right, you said that Councilmember Fig Sanders had brought up some possible funding in some way for the cemetery, and then it didn't pass muster because it's not in the city of St. Pete. Am I close?
The council member may be able to speak a little bit more to the origins of that, but that was our understanding. My understanding is that there was a budget request made, most likely for maintenance and improvements, and that we couldn't execute that because it was outside the municipal boundary of the city of St. Pete.
And so now I am just curious, ma'am. Was it voted down, or was it not allowed procedurally because it's not in?
Because it wasn't the city of St. Petersburg,
Okay,
and
so-
we were held bound to the city limits, so that we were told we couldn't use taxpayers' dollars to actually cross
I
the city
understand.
limits, yeah.
Okay, that paints the picture. Okay, thank you, Chair.
Great.
Thank you, Pastor.
Councilmember Driscoll.
Thank you. Pastor Williams, if you want to stay at the table, I'm so glad you're here. So Heather, it sounds like the way that if it was going to move forward in this manner, the first step would be for the property owner to petition the city of Gulfport.
That will call the question, yes, ma'am. So Gulfport can do it on its own and then seek consent like they could do a new business item to contract and then seek consent, or the property owner can petition to start that process.
Okay. So, so one big question is, does Cross and Anvil desire to have the boundaries changed so that it goes back to being a part of the city of St. Petersburg? Because I'd like to know what you want.
Councilman, thank you. I feel wounded. Your historical, wonderful presentation, sir. It was very valuable, and I learned a lot. Thank you. This cemetery is being punished. First, because African Americans couldn't be buried in the city limits. Now we're being punished because you can't help them because they're outside of the city limits. You took 100 bodies that was your responsibility up underneath that highway. Sent them to Lincoln. And now you've abandoned them. Those were 100 graves that you would have had to tend to. There's 7,000 people out there crying who lived in this city. Some of our greatest historians, the Wimbushes, Jordans, Ethel May Booker High School. Clearly your map showed an attempt to redline. I'm glad it was a red line. Because it has the same effect that banking does. You marginalize and disregard people's legacies to the point that all we can show for it is a highway that leads to nowhere and a cemetery who has the remains that can't be funded because of the law. And I'm done, but I'm not a letter of the law person, but I am a spirit of the law person. Sometimes we need to just do what's right. I'm all for annexation, which may take 8, 10, 12 months. The grass, however, grows every day. I'm being cited. We have carried this project on with my own private money, money from my organization and the church. And I don't know why God asked me to do this. I wish I could give it back. But annexation is fine, but what I'm asking this board for, given the kind of egregious acts that necessitated this, given the fact that Cross and Anvil Human Services is in the city limits, and I certainly don't think it's this committee's position that every dollar that St. Pete spends has to be spent in the city, because I'll point to the trop. How many of them dollars stay within the city limits? People that were from here. Cross and Anvil is in the city limits. And finally, I think, help me get to annexation. 34 felled trees were in that cemetery after the 3 hurricanes, 34. You could not drive down the road. The perimeters of the cemetery are not secured. Vandalism and all sorts of things are going on. It's a lot more to this, councilman and members, supporters, than just cutting the grass. So your short answer is yes. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's important to know that as we move forward. Since this would have to begin on the Gulfport side, and that is beyond our jurisdiction, one thing that we could do is create a resolution that we would pass, hopefully, and have it transmitted to the city of Gulfport, supporting that this process begin. And yes, that could take some time. And in the meantime, I think you've given us an idea when you mentioned, pointed out that Cross and Anvil is located in the city of St. Petersburg and does work for the community that goes far beyond Lincoln Cemetery. And so maybe we need to take a closer look at at how future funding could be made available for Cross and Anvil for the work that they do in the city of St. Petersburg, which helps out with the big picture. That's all I have. Thank you.
Wonderful. Councilmember Givens?
Thank you very much. I just want to preface by saying thank you, Pastor Williams. I'm a descendant of Lincoln Cemetery. Many of my family members are buried in Lincoln Cemetery, which is why I've worked with you and with Vanessa Gray, who I also want to thank for her time that she spent taking care of the cemetery as well. It's not easy. It is not easy doing what you and what Mr. Williams, another caretaker, do on a daily basis. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart, because I put in the sweat equity.
Yes, you have.
I've gotten cut from the sand spurs. I know that it is not easy taking care of those some 16 acres. So thank you for what you do. But I want to shift the focus from municipal boundaries back to the people who are buried in that cemetery, trailblazers. They were St. Pete residents. Cross and Anvil is an organization that is located in the city of St. Pete. This ain't rocket science. If we were about to give an organization just a month ago money to go outside of the city of St. Pete to attend conferences and trainings, to learn how to run businesses and do things like that, we can't find the money to give an organization located in St. Pete the funds to maintain and to improve a cemetery that is the burial grounds of St. Pete trailblazers. It's just called doing the right thing. And yes, doing the right thing isn't always easy, but it's right. And it's time for us to do the right thing. How long are we just going to keep kicking the can down the road? Lincoln Cemetery will celebrate 100 years next year. Yes. And I don't know the cost, but I want to pause for a moment, Pastor, to tell us, what are your needs? How much does it cost to maintain a cemetery like Lincoln annually?
It's about $5,000 a month to mow the grass. My issue now is we have vaults that when the trees flipped over, the vaults came up. And we have to re-entomb those with dirt. There's a process that you use. Some of the branches fell on vaults, broke them, and they're open. I have some safety concerns out there. I'm gonna have to close the cemetery to repair that. And I've got some trees that did not fall. I wish they would have, but they're hazards. They could fall anytime on anybody. And of course, without having the perimeter, it's difficult for us. I need a road, I need a fence. And in that proposal, I think it was somewhere around $300,000. I would probably need to redo that to today's figures. But it's about, even if I could get some help and considerations in future budget as you all move forward. I don't want you all to give me a little gift and then leave me alone. I want you to inherit me as your son. And, you know, help. I want to be an heir of the budget and the consideration of St. Pete. So I could give you Congresswoman and Congresswoman, maybe that's prophecy, Councilman and Councilwoman details. I could have my staff redo the numbers for you if you feel that has value.
Absolutely.
Thank you for that. And then another question that I had, and this is probably for administration legal. Does the city of St. Petersburg own any cemeteries at this time?
To my knowledge, no. I believe that while we have been maintaining Greenwood, as you heard earlier, it is owned by a private LLC, and the Royal Palm, and that's owned by a private company as well, and Sunnyside private company as well.
Mm-hmm. So recognizing that burial graves are privately owned, but the cemetery itself being privately owned, if we were to be given permission by the owner to help maintain, similar to what we're doing with Greenwood, would we be able to provide those same services for Cross and Anvil?
Well, I want to be very clear, we're not providing services free of charge. We have, as Mr. Farias said, we do that through our codes compliance. So codes compliance has had regular code liens, and then every time we go out and do any work on private property, we're required to recoup that money for taxpayers by a special assessment lien. So we haven't been able to identify ownership, as was stated earlier, to be able to collect on that money, but that money is collectible, and we do charge, just like we're doing any lot clearing throughout the city. Those all are done through special assessment liens.
Okay. Now, again, I didn't ask about liens. I just said, would we be able to provide those same services that we're providing to Greenwood to Lincoln? That's just a...
So, again, and I wrote this down as a question, can Cross and Anvil be funded generally as they are a city of St. Pete? That's something we would have to look into. But generally, the rule is that city funds, city services cannot be expended outside the boundaries of the municipality.
Okay, but this organization is located within the city of St. Petersburg. Again, Pastor's already pointed out how the boundaries were jerry-rigged to prevent something like this from occurring, us being able to help take care of a historic African-American cemetery. But with all that aside, that's no fault of anyone in this room. I want to recognize that. But it's our responsibility collectively to do the right thing. So what would next steps look like? I can't make a motion. I'm not a member of this committee, but would it be to have a conversation with the city of Gulfport now that the pastor has gone on record to say he is interested in having that conversation? What would that look like? Would the mayor, his designee, need to seek the grounds to begin a conversation to talk about the future of Lincoln?
For the de-annexation, I think the first step would be, as Councilmember Driscoll mentioned, is doing a resolution supporting Gulfport beginning that process with the ownership group.
Yeah.
Okay. I appreciate that. My other question was going to be technical assistance. So again, all this stuff is a year, 18 months, 2 years down the road. What help can we provide, Pastor Williams? Or has any help, Pastor, been offered to you? I'm just curious.
Yes, the city has helped in ways that they could. The arborists has come out and some other things. So the city has helped Cross and Anvil as an organization. We have, of course, men in the making, women in the making, and veteran services running out of that building, in addition to Lincoln. So yeah, the city has been a great partner, not so much on this project, but on other projects. And I value the help that the city has given. I'm a little disappointed in Gulfport's response to some of my requests, but you know, I guess in the sense of dollars and cents, the resources may be more available here than there. I understand it's a small municipality.
Now, would our city be able to help in any way with the historic designation process, helping Cross and Anvil apply for any sort of grants that may be?
We did ask for help with a grant writer, and we did ask for, you know, what I need now is surveying. Because once we uncover the graves, if I don't get them surveyed before it grows back over, I got to start back from square one. There are 6,000 unmarked graves out there. And some of them are very deep, the vaults, and the maps we have are not, I was never given the maps back that I gave Mrs. Gray. So I just have portions of the map that I retained and gave her the rest. So my need right now is surveying. That's a $25,000 ordeal to do everything above ground.
So again, I can't do much now, but I would hope that, you know, my colleagues, and I'm glad that some people are talking, but again, actions speak louder than words. We have to partner with these community leaders who are doing the work. It's not fair for us to have dragged this conversation out for so long when, as Pastor said, it takes over $100,000 just to maintain the cemetery annually. So I don't know what we can do. I'd like the administration to give us an answer. Would the administration support helping Cross and Anvil?
Thank you, Council Member, for that question. And I will refer to the mayor's memo from October. Mayor outlined the actions that the administration has taken. And I'll really call attention to the last paragraph of that memo where he says he's committed to working with City of Gulfport, this council, to find a resolution. And I think in that memo, it also points out that where we have been supportive to the Cross and Anvil organization, to the grant applications for the studies that were conducted. So we're participating, we're involved, we're committed to finding a resolution.
So resolution, going on record, would the resolution be allocating funds to Cross and Anvil, an organization that is based in St. Pete, to help maintain and improve the cemetery, or was the resolution having a conversation with the City of Gulfport to discuss the annexation? I just want to be clear about what our resolution is. What is the path forward? I want to be clear.
Understood, and I don't know that we have the answer as we're sitting here today. It seems like from the discussion that we've had so far that the process would be the de-annexation from Gulfport and then the annexation into our jurisdiction.
So more back and forth. We need a clear solution. The pastor has made it clear he needs help. We've heard from Greenwood. They have money in the bank. That's the difference here. There is funds. They just have a ownership dispute right now. There is no money right now to maintain Lincoln Cemetery. The pastor is coming out of his pocket. Many of us are coming out of our pockets. We cannot afford to keep dragging this out. Our ancestors are counting on us to stand up and to speak up for them because they cannot do it for themselves. It's no personal strife with anyone, but we just have to stop pussyfooting around and just do the right thing. Thank you, Chair.
Councilmember Driscoll.
Thank you. Rui, since you're here, I know that the St. Petersburg Museum of History works on the history of our city, no matter what those boundaries have been over time. Is there, I don't know if you and Pastor Williams have had a conversation about Lincoln before, but I would encourage that to happen. Not only about that, but about the process that you've been going through with Greenwood. I feel like there's some valuable information that could be shared that could help Pastor Williams and Cross and Anvil as they move forward. So you see, I brought these two forward in one new business item, but they are two very different stories. Mm-hmm. There's a little bit of crossover here, though, that I think could benefit both if you guys can have a conversation at some point and kind of just share your experiences and see how you might be able to learn from each other and help each other. And then the St. Petersburg Museum of History might have some archives or information that could be helpful as you move forward, especially when it comes to grant applications and things like that. So I think there's an opportunity for collaboration and at least the sharing of information to start. So
I agree, and thank you for bringing that up. So we have not had that conversation, but I look forward to having that conversation.
Good.
By our mission, the museum is not restricted to the city limits, so we are able to work throughout the county. So
I love that.
I look forward to helping the pastor with this project.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good, good. And in the meantime, for this committee for today, I will make, okay, so just before I do make this motion, since the property owner has not yet petitioned, we don't have this wouldn't be a resolution to support the property owner's petition because there isn't one yet.
It's just a resolution to support Gulfport initiating the process, supporting the process for de-annexation. And then that way, it's not limited to that.
Right.
Either track, either Gulfport starts on their own or the petition from the owner comes in and starts the process. It's just supporting a resolution supporting beginning the process to contract the municipal boundaries.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so then I will make a motion for the city attorney's office to compose a resolution for city council to support the commencement of the city of Gulfport's de-annexation process for the Lincoln Cemetery. That is my motion.
Thank you. We'll have a discussion on it. Councilmember Fig Sanders, you want to say?
So I'm not a member of this committee, but again, thank you, Councilmember Driscoll, for wanting to do that resolution. But again, I still want us to be mindful. I hear you, Pastor. That's going to take a minute to even get that conversation moving. And historically, connecting you with for history's purposes, but your immediate need right now is funding. And so the de-annexation is long-term.
Yes.
I'm trying to figure, and Tom, and I've read the mayor's memo as well, and of course, you know, we've been in conversation with this for years, but I'm trying to find an additional and I think, Heather, Crossing Amble, yes, is in the city of St. Petersburg. Like, for example, when they take children out of the city on trips and everything else, we're not spending that money in the city of St. Petersburg, but we're funding Crossing Amble, who provide those services to those students. So the resolution is helpful, yes, but what would be a path forward if the home, just like when we come and you speak in the city of St. Petersburg, you have to be a resident, right? And certain one, Crossing Amble is located in the city of St. Petersburg, providing that services. If we can take some time, and you and I can have this conversation as to what a possible route to that would be, how we can actually generate that. Because again, I understand, I'm a homeowner. My neighbor just can't come do whatever they want in my yard. That would be an issue. And so I understand Gulfport's stance, although we might not appreciate it, that is their property. So doing the resolution would be phenomenal, but however, we do fund organizations that are here that do provide services and opportunities for our residents, and we know that those residents that live in, that are buried, not living, but are buried in Lincoln, were St. Petersburg residents. They were, you know, so that's my question. I love all the conversation. I love the long-term plans, but I'm just trying to find out, when I made the budget request then, and the question is still the same. We provide funding to organizations that are here that provide services in other cities all the time. So that's my request. Again, I'm not a voting member. I will vote on Gina's resolution, council member's resolution when it comes upstairs. But I'm looking for something just a little bit more tangible right now, just a short-sighted view of what the funding possibilities look like, because I have family and people that are out there as well. And so we've been having this conversation for a while, but I do understand the legalities of it. We're not going to break legal, it may be right, but we're not going to break legal barriers for it. But I think Pastor Williams says, when did you start this process, Pastor Williams? When we got the
Lord.
when the sheriff and
It was 10 years ago, maybe?
Yeah. So this.
And I was approached, you know, it's not something I decided. I was approached by then Councilman Wingate Newton, Bill O'Reilly, Mark Fedovich, and some other people from Gulfport to take the cemetery under my nonprofit. And I've sorrowfully agreed to do it. But I want to thank you for your help and for everyone. And I want to thank you, Mr. Chair of this council. Thank you for your legal opinion that I don't agree with, but for an opportunity for me to share my thoughts with you. It means a lot. It really does. Just to know I'm being heard. So thank you.
And then also for point of clarification, Pastor Williams is not from St. Pete. And he is anchoring this and spending his own personal dollars for our ancestors, for our residents of the city of St. Petersburg. We live here, well, I wasn't born here, but raised here, and have not been able to acquire a dime or a dollar to actually pay homage to our ancestors. And I think that has been my argument for a while. But I would just love for us to see ordinance change, whatever that looks like, to see how we can designate some of the dollars that we have. Grant fundings, we support programs, yes, they're here in the city. And don't get me wrong, I understand taxpayers' dollars. We're going to have to ensure that whatever we do is attainable and legal. But I just don't want us to continue to use that boundary as providing those services. And again, Pastor Williams, you know, we go back them 10 years, so I do appreciate it. But I really think it needs to be important to know you don't have any roots here. You have none, and you have fought the battle for the Lincoln Cemetery for the last 10 years. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, I'll get a clarification on a couple of things. So I'm grateful for the resolution. And I think the other prong of the conversation is getting an immediate solution around funding. But my impression is, and I'm saying this out loud so you can clarify if I'm wrong, the issue with funding, dedicating any funding that would be allocated for the cemetery is that the cemetery is not in the city of St. Petersburg. And that sounds like not our rules, but like probably state law is my assumption.
Yes, and I will candidly admit that municipal finance is down the ladder on my skill set, so I cannot provide very nuanced answers to that. But yes, generally that's state law for funding for municipalities, how we are allowed to use our tax dollars.
Okay.
But I will research where the line is with funding programs for that, and obviously I will consult with Tom, who is finance master.
Yeah.
Well, and certainly we can fund Cross and Anvil. In fact, we have and continue to. But when you're talking about, and let me make an analogy. You know, we couldn't spend penny for Pinellas dollars to make improvements in another jurisdiction, right? So we're confined to spending resources to make improvements on things within our jurisdiction. Now, other council members have brought up that we, hire contractors who make improvements here. They may not be in St. Petersburg, domiciled in St. Petersburg, but the project that they're working on is within our boundaries of our jurisdiction. So, just trying to, kind of draw that analogy of, we want to make sure resources from our taxpayers stay within our jurisdiction.
Yes, okay, thank you for that. That was how I understood it. But what I'm hearing from some of my colleagues is this is an organization that does more than just maintenance on the cemetery. And so what are those other services that they provide, work that they do that could, and I'm not saying that we need the answer right now, actually we're low on time, but clarity on what we could fund that would relieve their overall financial burden and allow them to prioritize resources differently. I think that's what I'm hearing from my colleagues. And so that's the clarity that could be brought to a future conversation about this and get us somewhere to where we're able to more immediately help. And Pastor, if you had anything you wanted to add to that?
No.
Okay, all right. And thank you very much for everything today. This was a very thoughtful presentation. That's all that I had to try to make sure I understood where we stood on a path forward. But I see Councilmember Gabbard. Yeah.
Just a thought that I wanted to bring forward, and I support the resolution today, and I want to be very clear. First of all, thank you. Thank you for your leadership, thank you for your stewardship, and thank you for being so blunt and honest with us today. I always appreciate a direct response, and so thank you for that. And thank you, Derek and Rui, for everything that you've brought forward today as well. Listen, I want to be very clear that I support whatever gets us to a place where we are honoring our history and honoring our ancestors. I do not enjoy when we have conversations that pit one against another, when we have conversations that take one initiative and make it seem less valuable than another initiative. So I would just kind of like to level set on that. I think that is important. We are a city that has proven that we can do big things, we can do creative things, and we can devote resources to a lot of different initiatives, not only to take care of the people of today, but to honor our history. So I just wanted to level set on that. The reason that I raised my hand was to make sure that I added kind of a thought that had come to me as I've been reviewing all of the information, listening to the presentation today, thinking about ways that we can do better in the future. Recognizing that there is going to be continued challenges over any sort of funding until the property is part of St. Petersburg. I just think those challenges are going to continue. And so one of the things I wanted to bring up, and this would be for a future discussion, Derek, would be the ability to, once this is annexed, I'm going to put it out as though it is going to happen, because when we speak in the positives, good things happen. So once it is part of the city of St. Petersburg, I understand there are other places, Tampa being one of them, that has taken cemeteries and actually taken over the ownership of them and designated them as parkland to be able to actually protect them, maintain them, and take care of them into the future. So this is something that I would like to have as part of this discussion. I think while that is not immediate by any means, it should be something we are working on while we are working on a potential annexation into the city and while we're working on any sort of funding going forward for Cross and Anvil. And so I just wanted to put that out there because I think that that might be an opportunity for long-term sustainability of the site, and then that really helps us make sure that we maintain that integrity. So that's my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you for that. I appreciate the addition because, as we were thinking about this, it kind of had gotten floated around a little bit. Councilmember Gibbons mentioned ownership of cemeteries, and I unfortunately cannot trace my roots very far back. My family's poor and far flung, but the family members that I do know where they're buried, it's in municipal cemeteries in other cities in Florida, and so I didn't want to broach that subject because I think the people who maintain it and the people whose families live there should have that decision. But it was the first, my grandma's buried in the Fort Walton Beach, Florida Municipal Cemetery, and so just something to keep in mind. And as long as people feel that's appropriate, I'm interested in that. Councilmember Driscoll, I'll let you wrap us up, and then we'll vote on your motion.
Yeah, just quickly, as far as where do we go from here, it sounds like we're in a good place with Greenwood Cemetery as they are going to figure out which type of historic designation might work next. And so once that's established, I will put in a new business item to move forward with that process. Clearly, Lincoln Cemetery needs more discussion. We'll vote on this resolution to go to council, but then in terms of these other steps and other ideas that people have, I think that part of the discussion should stay on the referral list to continue. So, and as I thought it was going to be, we'll bring them together, establish the two situations, and then let them travel their appropriate paths. So going forward, this would be a discussion on Lincoln only.
Okay, great. Thank you very much for that. All right, we have a motion on the floor. All in favor? Aye. All right, motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for the really thoughtful and good discussion today. Our next HLUT meeting is on January 15th. We've got a couple of items around housing at 80% of AMI or below. I look forward to that conversation. The last HLUT meeting for the year is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. We'll call to order the December 4th, 2025 meeting of St. Petersburg City Council's Economic and Workforce Development Committee. Could we have a roll call, please?
Driscoll.
Here.
Big Sanders.
Here.
Floyd.
Here.
Gibbons. Gertis.
All right, thank you. Committee members, we have an agenda for today's meeting. I'll entertain a motion for approval.
Move approval.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. And committee members, we have in our backup material the minutes from the October 23rd, 2025 meeting. I'll entertain a motion for approval of those minutes.
Move approval.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. And now to our new business for today. This is an update, the latest update on our Center for the Arts study. And joining us for that update, we have, to start things off, City Development Administration and Finance Managing Director, and basically the champion of all things St. Pete, Beth Herendine. Hi.
Thank you, Chair.
You're not busy at all these days, are you?
Yeah, I love it all. It's all good.
Thanks for all you do, and thanks for bringing us this update today.
Yes, absolutely. We're excited to bring you the update today. Just to get everybody quickly up to speed, I think everyone's fully aware, but this visioning plan for the Center for the Arts began originally in 2020 under my predecessor, Chris Balestra, with another architecture firm, Arc3 Architecture. He was working on it and then restarted the effort in 2024 with John Curran here and his team from ASD Sky. When that was re-energized in 2024, ASD Sky met with many of the stakeholders, and that is the presentation that came before this committee in April of 2025. So we heard the committee's feedback, I think loud and clear after that, and so over the last few months, ASD Sky and city staff have been meeting with some of the same stakeholders, but much more in depth. And then we also expanded that list of stakeholders, and so we've spent a good portion of the last few months meeting, and John will go over some of the specific groups that we've met with. Probably the last thing, I want to turn it over to John because he's got all the nice the pictures and everything, but I do just want to make it clear for everybody listening and watching and reporting that this is a high-level visioning plan, that this is something that we think could be a good fit for the Center for the Arts, but certainly that there's nothing set in stone or nothing that's imminent, so I just wanted to make that clear. So with that, I will turn it over to John Curran and his team to go over the latest.
Thank you, Beth. Again, John Curran, principal with ASD Sky. Great to be here. Wanted to just sort of give everybody an update of where we were. So we heard your feedback loud and clear when we were here in April of 2025, this past year. And one of the things that really was clear to us was direction in regard to making sure we had more public input. So you'll see that we met with several different local community groups, including the Chamber of Commerce, the Downtown Partnership, Business Alliance, the neighborhood associations, Saturday Morning Market, so on and so forth. And you'll see the way that sort of affected everything we put together. Additionally, there was a desire to make sure we examined the possibilities of Al Lang, not taking it down, but see what we could do. So we did have discussions with the Rowdies as well, and you'll see what we are proposing in that regard as we go through this. All right, let's see here. Okay, technical difficulties.
Is it not moving?
It's not moving.
Oh.
There you go.
Use the mouse.
Want to give you that?
It works.
Use the mouse up and down.
So that's not supposed to be. All right, just some background considerations. Some of this stuff you may remember, but just in terms of understanding really the brief of what we were charged to do is examining this area with the Mahaffey Theater, Dali, now the Florida Orchestra, and what we're developing for them as a part of this sort of triumvirate, which is now the Center for the Arts, and what it means to really the master plan on St. Pete. Unfortunately, that little graphic got a little muddled, but one of the things we recognize that the Center for the Arts is actually really the conclusion of the waterfront along St. Petersburg. And there's an interruption of asphalt that just sort of interrupts that green space as it gets to the Center for the Arts. And we see that opportunity as making sure that that's the connection that ultimately comes, and this becomes essentially an anchor at the south end of this beautiful waterfront in St. Petersburg. We shared with you previously a series of precedents. This is narrowed down to what we thought we heard loud and clear as really precedents that made sense in terms of what this Center for the Arts could be. One in particular that was, I think, got a lot of discussion was the Soundscape Park in Miami Beach. And now with the opportunity for the Florida Orchestra to really have an integral part of this Center for the Arts, there's an amazing opportunity to sort of integrate something very similar to this, which could be really cool. So this is a revised diagram of the key stakeholders. Last time we really focused on, the Mahaffey Theater, the Dali, and of course the city of St. Petersburg. But the large circles, if you will, around what is the Center for the Arts are the primary stakeholders. And in a category we call Waterfront Master Plan, that represents really all of the local downtown community groups that we met with over the summer. So we spent a lot of time over the summer really meeting with the Chamber of Commerce, Waterfront Foundation, Saturday Morning Market, Downtown Partnership, and a number of groups you see up there. And we gathered that feedback. The main stakeholders we met with at least twice through this process. An update discussion with them first, and then after we developed some initial ideas again, we met with those groups again so we could get additional feedback to sort of finalize this approach. And then in the document that we'll ultimately finalize, there's actually a summary of some of those notes and some of those meetings as we went through this past summer. A diagram of really where we started, what the existing condition is, and gives you a good sense of all the structures that are out there in red. And then we're going to just sort of focus on the master plan as we go through this. So this is the existing condition. Just a reminder, you may have had an opportunity to review some of the stuff we shared. But again, Mahaffey, Dali, and the existing garage, and Al Lang. An aerial view of that existing condition. And now we're going to get into sort of the master plan. So one of the things you look here that's a little different, we originally presented a promenade that was very sort of wide open. One of the things that came out of discussions with the Mahaffey Theater was maybe really looking at the opportunity to reduce the width of the garage. So narrowing the garage a little bit and going up another level gives us an opportunity to expose the Mahaffey Theater a bit more and give that sort of an open opportunity as well. You may remember previously we talked about a potential conference center for the city of St. Pete. That conference center went away, and the opportunity to develop the Florida Orchestra as sort of a replacement component along that edge of the garage really became an opportunity. So as we talked about it, so when we talk about the triumvirate of arts institutions that are basically making up the Center for the Arts, it's the Dali, it's the Mahaffey, and now it's the Florida Orchestra. Discussions with the Florida Orchestra, we actually went through this process looking at placement for their building. Should it be attached completely to the Mahaffey Theater? Is there other locations on the Center for the Arts that make sense? What we came up with that made a lot of sense both to the Mahaffey Theater as well as the Florida Orchestra was sort of a two-prong addition, if you will. A 10,000 square foot addition that's actually attached to the Mahaffey, which focuses on storage. So all of their instrument storage can be directly connected to the Mahaffey, easy access to the stage at the Mahaffey. And then what we're calling sort of the Florida Orchestra Education Center, but it's really their headquarters, which would be this component right here that we'll share with you in terms of visioning what that looks like. But what this does, and we also are sort of creating an easy access for staff and musicians to get into the Mahaffey Theater. This addition, the idea of this sort of addition to the Mahaffey not only focuses on that 10,000 square foot portion of storage for the Florida Orchestra, it also enhances the VIP entrance for the Mahaffey. And then whatever future renovations that may occur to the Mahaffey could be potentially a part of that sort of development right there. This component here is a 4 to 5 story addition to the garage that would be the Florida Orchestra's main headquarters. That represents about 70,000 square feet, and again, this is about 10,000 square feet of addition. There's another 10,000 square foot proposed as this sort of new VIP entry component to the Mahaffey. The Dali up top here, we spent some time with the Dali. That is actually sort of the latest and greatest of their proposed addition to the Dali. So we've sort of modeled that in. It fits very nicely and comfortably. We worked out the thoughts of this major canopy and how that would work for drop-off. We've modified their surface parking. So I think they currently have about 160 surface parking spaces. I think here we're at 142, so it's not much less. But now our garage, the way this is designed currently, we're at 1,250 cars, basically. We wanted to get to 1,100, but we found a way to get to 1,250 with compact cars, so on and so forth. And remember, we added another level to the garage as well. So from a parking standpoint, we're really meeting that requirement pretty well. Some of the things, again, as I mentioned, what came out of the discussions, this opportunity when cars come down to Fifth and they park here, obviously they're hitting what is the existing garage, but finding a way to open up that view corridor to the water and even creating this angle component right here and even providing a bit more of a vista to this component here at the Mahaffey. So when you get to Fifth in this whole zone right here, you basically see the Dali, the Mahaffey, and the Florida Orchestra very clearly. All right. So we spent some time doing some program diagramming to make sure that what we were proposing for the Florida Orchestra made sense. These are very preliminary program diagrams that show what happens in section in terms of what they need. Florida Orchestra shared with us their latest and greatest program. So we started to plug those components in just to make sure that from a volume standpoint, it would work where we're proposing. One of the interesting things about this potential project is the rehearsal hall that they're wanting to do as part of this education center. That rehearsal hall would also be able to support as many as 400 to 500 people for performances. So it's another alternative performance opportunity within the Center for the Arts, Mahaffey Theater, as well as this rehearsal hall. And then these are just sort of plan diagrams. You start to see how the garage and the building sort of interact. And we're proposing on the street at first, primary retail space in the garage. And of course, when the time comes to design this fully with the Florida Orchestra, how that ground floor gets cut up and worked out is still a work in progress. But in this case, we're just proposing retail along First. So we are enlivening the streetscape as much as we can. And then we just broke down the components of their program to show them how potentially this could work. Okay, that's it. All right, so we have a series of diagrams just to give you a sense of, all right, this is actually a diagram that came out of our discussions with the Saturday morning market. So with them, the idea of relocating from the outlying parking lot over to here, they said that's okay, it's not too far. If it was too far, they would be concerned. But what happens with this proposal, it actually gives them an opportunity to expand vendors significantly. As many as 50 to 60 different vendors could easily be added to this area. And you'll see a concentration of any kind of programming for the most part that's sort of like in the public realm or the city of St. Petersburg happens within this large portion of plaza, including what we're proposing for the Grand Prix. Trying to keep this area of the plaza sort of free and clear and open so that the Dali and the Mahaffey can utilize it from a programming standpoint as well. One of the things that came out of discussions with the Saturday morning market was making sure we provided storage for them as well. So we're accommodating that in the garage because currently they use the ground floor of Al Lang. So we accommodated that sufficiently. And again, you'll see in this proposal that we have here for the master plan that we're designing or proposing that this grass that we're proposing here is actually reinforced system. You'll see we have detail to show you what that means and how that's built. So trucks can drive on it. It's easy to basically, it's a very durable surface. We're always trying to maintain these larger drive lanes, which are basically decorative paths, but tractor trailers could drive on it very simply and easily. This is a diagram of the Grand Prix and how that actually would be set up in terms of the paddocks. So the dots you see are the current racetrack. You see the bridges along the streets that happen. We went through this with the Grand Prix folks, and this actual proposal gives them an opportunity to add 2 teams to their current situation, which is, you know, they were pretty pleased with that. I mean, you know, as this master plan gets implemented in the future, their challenges are going to be when construction's happening. How do they, you know, get around that? But they were very understanding and open to those kinds of improvements. This is just a diagram showing how, if, you know, in terms of phasing, here's the existing garage. Both the new garage and even the Florida Orchestra component could be built while the garage was maintained. And that was, I think, really important. Tight, but still doable. And now we're going to share some images. I'm going to blame the image fuzziness on the City of St. Pete's technology. It's a little fuzzy there, but you start to get a sense of what we're proposing here. So as I mentioned, the plaza here gets open, so that angle really gives us this sort of funneling effect to the water. We are concerned about shade and making sure that when there's not a major event, we do as much as we can to incorporate shade. So we're incorporating some shade structures through here, and they're strategically located so that when it's Grand Prix time, the Grand Prix would actually use those areas for some of the race cars. And it works out quite nicely with the way we set up the paddocks. But trying to find those opportunities. And just, I have to mention this, but we did relocate the Fountain of Youth, which is over here. And that came out of a meeting we had with the Chamber of Commerce, which was very important, which I thought was funny, but we are locating it properly. And giving it a nice home where it really becomes something that everybody's reminded of what was out here previously. So this is an image of the proposed Florida Orchestra structure. As I mentioned, it's about 4 to 5 stories. It's 4 stories, and then the potential for a rooftop, whether it's a restaurant or whether it's occupied by the Florida Orchestra. But this gives you a good sense of how this area right off of 5th is opened up. You start to see that new entry component to the Mahaffey right here, and you see the Florida Orchestra, and you see the Dali, and you see the activity potential not only along 1st, but also in this plaza, and what this could really be in terms of an activated park, essentially. Garage is right here in the distance. And then just a series of images as we go through. So you see the Dali and their proposed addition here, canopy coming across, and providing the ability for anybody coming out of the garage to basically be covered from the rain to get into any of the structures around here. We're also proposing, you kind of see this little component up top. The 2nd floor of the canopy is a 2nd floor opportunity from both the garage as well as the Florida Orchestra structure to get access into the Mahaffey. And you'll see some more of those images as we go through this. A little close-up of that Florida Orchestra possibility. Additional views. This is a view where you see the Mahaffey proposal. You see that addition I talked about where about 10,000 square feet of this is for the Florida Orchestra, and then another 10,000 this whole new VIP entry component here. You see the canopy, the portion from the Mahaffey across to the Dali. We're proposing, some solar panels on top. We're not proposing for people to walk across it, but we are making this 2nd level here a connection to the garage as well as to the orchestra. One thing I wanted to point out is, we did think about what this structure could be. This is where the chamber or the rehearsal hall I mentioned would be, right here, and giving them the opportunity to create sort of a glass backdrop for their stage, where if you're in here for a performance, you could actually see the water from that vista. And then if they're rehearsing in here and they want to get easy access to the Mahaffey, they could literally have a door element here and just walk across and get right into the Mahaffey without any sort of interruption with the public or anything like that. So those are some of the things we were thinking about. I mentioned, the importance of the drive aisles. These are the, sort of reinforced grass elements we have through here. The banding you see here is also strategically located because we're proposing to run utilities through there, electricity and water. So throughout, the duration of this plaza, you have the ability to use it for many different functions. We also saw an opportunity with this wall, knowing that this is the rehearsal hall. It made a lot of sense to just make this sort of a solid, but it's an opportunity to sort of do movies on the lawn and do projections of maybe even performances in the Mahaffey or performances inside the Florida Orchestra building. And then some various views as we go around. So this is a view of Grand Prix Day. So you see how it works, the paddocks all set up in this area, the tents and other hospitality elements set up in the garage, and really just, strategically setting this up, working it out with the Grand Prix in terms of exactly what they needed from tractor trailers, tents, and other accommodations as we go through this. I can do that. So this is a view of the Saturday morning market. So you can see all the tents set up in this area. And again, giving them the opportunity to run trucks through this area as well. So it's ease of access. This is a view potentially with the movies on the lawn, or being able to watch the performances that are happening either in the Mahaffey or the Florida Orchestra, but having this whole area set up in a very unique way. Okay, so that is really the main focus of that, what we've always been calling sort of phase one. You asked us to look at Al Lang and try to understand, what we could do without taking it down. I mean, there's the idea of renovating Al Lang is certainly out there, but we didn't study, the really what it would take to renovate that stadium. That's sort of a separate component. What we got out of conversations with the Rowdies was if they were to stay and be here, probably would make more sense to build a separate building that could house their lockers, their offices, and so on and so forth. So what we are proposing in this particular case is, you see this component right here. This is actually a structure that could potentially house their locker spaces, their offices, various storage, and then a major retail component, so some sort of shop that would actually now have access directly to First. And then we saw the opportunity to enhance concessions, as well as maybe even add a restaurant with a view to both soccer. And you'll see strategically we've located this building. It's here, you see those bleachers for soccer right there. We're locating this structure strategically so that if the city wanted to keep Al Lang for baseball, you could do that. So whether Al Lang gets completely renovated, whether it even gets torn down and rebuilt as a baseball stadium, what we were trying to do here was, if it does go back to baseball, the idea that this structure could stay and be utilized even for baseball down the road, so that this becomes the new outfield wall. We took upon ourselves to even create this sort of elevated concourse component, which would be literally right on top of the existing Al Lang outfield wall, as it would come around to this side and connect to the concourse of Al Lang. So that was sort of, strategically what we were trying to do. If we were able to do all of this and then get, the parking garage constructed, this small parking lot right here supports about 35 cars. That would be set up primarily for the Rowdies staff, Rowdies players for the most part. And then we would propose to keep this portion of parking over here, but looking at the opportunity to sort of enhance that green space. So instead of having that asphalt like we talked about, this could be a simple, just green space. In this particular case, we're just suggesting that it's landscaping and the possible add of a couple of pavilions, maybe a bathroom pavilion and maybe just an open air pavilion, so whatever functions you want or have, this could be utilized, rented out even for events at Al Lang, whatever the case may be. And also responding again to this opportunity to create somewhat of a berm. So during the Grand Prix, this grass here, this would only be about 6 feet in elevation, but you'd be elevated enough where people could sit on the grass and watch the Grand Prix. So it's a simple park renovation here if we were able to pull off all of these components. But I'll go back, if I can. Can't go back.
The up button.
Which one?
Up.
I know, but it's not, nonetheless. So you can't see soccer right now. All right, so the building we proposed, similar to what we did for a very simple programming diagram, we did the same thing for this building as well. So you see on the ground, this is actually the existing metal bleachers that are out there at the soccer field. The Rowdies lockers would be in this location. This would be a building that's built to FEMA regulations, so it's elevated. You're not going to have the issues of flooding, so on and so forth. That's the primary reason why we would put it over here. But the Rowdies players would actually have easy access to the field. Their current benches are actually over here anyway, so it's actually quite convenient. And then making sure we have retail, could be a Rowdy shop, could be even additional retail spaces for other retail tenants potentially, but on first. Their offices up on the second floor, and then we were looking at really this second level being an opportunity for additional concessions and restrooms. So people that are in the game could actually, in this concourse, easily get up to this second level, get some concessions elements or whatever, or go to the restrooms, and potentially take that, I'll call it sky path, or this extended concourse element all the way around the facility. Either way, it's just an added potential concession opportunity. And then up on the top, potential rooftop dining. If there's not enough office space for Rowdies here, they have the ability to go up to the the third level, and utilize some of that space for additional office, or it becomes potential tenant office space as well. But having an opportunity for a restaurant on that third level with fantastic visibility and outdoor space covered with a view of the game. Strategically, we located this where if a person is up on this concourse level at sort of a drink height level, they can easily see the soccer game very nicely. And you'll see some images of the building we're proposing. So this is a view to the south. You see the garage we have proposed, Florida Orchestra building down here. This is actually that structure. So it's a very simple structure. Potentially on first, the Rowdies could end up having a new entry into Al Lang and having that access. So as I mentioned, this ground floor becomes that extension of first, where we're activating with retail all the way across. Second floor is primarily Rowdies offices, and then you'll see concessions over in another view that look out to the field. And then the third floor, additional offices as well as a potential restaurant in this corner. It's sort of an aerial view, gives you that sense. That's that parking lot I was mentioning here. You see the Mahaffey. Very simple structure. That's the Skyway, or this elevated concourse that comes around and connects to Al Lang. You have the ability now to make that connection over here and getting to this bleacher area. So that's essentially how this, this structure could work, basically. Then just various views. This is sort of looking to the northeast. This is a view to the northwest. So this is actually where the parking lot is. You can see the proposed Skyway, and basically trying to create as convenient of access to these levels as we can. This is just sort of a quick view of bleachers, and you get a sense of how that second floor concourse I was talking about, there's restrooms and concessions, and then, as I said, on the third floor, more of a sort of a VIP restaurant experience potentially, if this goes. A close-up view of that sort of concourse component on the second floor. This would be that ground floor Rowdies, primarily locker space down below and storage. And then this is that potential upper level restaurant component. And then some aerial views, I talk a little bit about what this could be from a park standpoint, but this just gives you that sense, always maintaining that, the moment of the Grand Prix track. You see the parking, you see how all of this can work, coming together here, keeping Al Lang. And an aerial view of both components together. Basically the phase 1 component, and then a renovated Al Lang. And then we did in this, I won't go too deep into the economic benefits analysis, but similarly to what we did before, we sort of created some probable cost analysis, and then Kimley Horn did an economic analysis to sort of evaluate the economic benefits, essentially, that would come along with a proposal of this magnitude. And so, whoops. I didn't do it.
Click
Press
OK
OK.
and see what happens, yeah.
Scroll up on your mouse.
There it goes. But it doesn't go to the last pages. I wanted to show you the civil engineering details that are also in that proposal. Unfortunately, it's not coming up.
On maybe running this way.
The what?
But it was in the packet, let's see.
Yeah, so there's,
Yeah, we have it.
yeah, we pointed out some utility analysis and what we would have to do, but we anticipated that we would have to relocate some utilities, just to make sure we understood that. And then we've also provided some details for that sort of stabilized grass that I was talking about. So there's several products out there that work quite nicely, and that's what we would propose. So we've gotten that question all the time. Can we ride trucks on it, on the grass? That's the way we would propose to do it. So it's very doable in that regard. Unfortunately, I can't show you even the thank you page. Oh, well.
Well, at least it happened toward the end.
Yes, yes.
No, I don't know what happened then.
I've never seen.
I didn't do that either.
All right, well, I think that
concludes.
abruptly concludes the presentation.
All right, thank you. Questions
Is there
from
any way to get it back?
committee members? Or others? Anyone? Councilmember Givens?
Thank you, Chair. And no questions, but I do want to thank you all so much for your presentation. I learned a lot, and I'm very impressed by what I've seen. Very impressed. I just want to say my support is for preserving Al Lang Stadium, as much of it as we can, with that being a century-old structure. I just want to go on record saying that. I do see this as being a revenue generator. I think this is great. I look at the green space, and I'm excited that we're going to be opening up and expanding the view from First Street down to Bayshore. To me, I think that gets back to the old St. Pete days before the concrete jungle. I really love the fact that that's going to be a multi-purpose site. Whether you have movies on the lawn or events. I attended the cookout down there a couple of months back, and that was an awesome opportunity. But I'm just thinking of what this is going to do, not just for the Rowdies, for the Mahaffey, and for the Florida Orchestra, but for the city as a whole. This is going to be an event venue space that can really host community events. That will attract folks from all over the country. And I'm excited to see how this is going to take us to that next level. I just point out a couple of other things that I saw, which was the concourse at the Rowdies, for the Rowdies at the Al Lang Stadium. I love the fact that that's a multi-level concourse that will include a restaurant. Again, with limited space, we got to think about how we can get creative, right? Creative ways to generate multiple streams of income. And I definitely saw what you did here, and I'm very impressed, and I just want to commend you for that. So thank you, Chair. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Floyd?
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for going back. I think my feedback last time we had this conversation was just to get a sense of what the Rowdies were thinking at all, and so I don't know if y'all can speak to that.
Yes, we met with the Rowdies. The ownership has changed between their first meeting and now, but I did have the chance to speak with the team president very recently. This really, the team, as of this moment, wants to remain in St. Petersburg. I shouldn't say, and that's what I think we want, is for the team to stay in St. Petersburg. That facility, that's the proposed facility, could work for the Rowdies, could work for other, could be for other uses there at the stadium. But they certainly believe that that building would take into account the needs that they expressed. So they were pleased with the outcome.
And as I recall, they indicated they needed at least 24,000 square feet. So that structure represents about 36,000, and sort of the other 10,000 of it is the open air concourses that we were showing. So we balanced it out nicely from a size standpoint.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that. Yeah, I mean, I know last time a lot of people had a reaction to not seeing Al Lang there. I just wondered what the Rowdies were thinking, really, was where I was coming from. So I appreciate y'all going back and getting as much information as you can, given the circumstances. Pull up my notes real quick. So I'll just bounce off of something Councilmember Givens said about revenue generation. I have seen like these economic benefits here, but I think really narrowing down, this is sort of like, I guess I would say, a big part of the city's enterprise facilities. And we always have a conversation about enterprise facilities generating revenue. And so just to be really specific, like, I don't know if you can speak to it or if we won't, in a future conversation we can have it, but just maximizing revenue generation opportunities for the city at every twist and turn is an ideal scenario, is what I would say. Yeah.
We agree. I don't know that I can get into specifics today, but I certainly agree with that. And that's ASD Sky did a really good job of presenting some of those opportunities.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah. So especially because I think I'm gonna go out on a limb and say a lot of us in the room, if not all of us, look at this and go, wow, this would be a great thing to see in our city. But the impediment is the expense.
Yes.
Yeah. So. If we can find ways to soften that expense, in my wildest dreams, it's break even or profit off of that expense. That would be ideal. So I just will put that in y'all's minds, and I appreciate Councilmember Givens bringing it up right away. I'm always looking to expand city services and recreation opportunities in a financially sustainable way. Two more things that I have written down here. The first, you mentioned the Mahaffey, like a VIP area. What was?
Well, if we didn't get into the details, but currently that area where we're proposing the new garage, that is where they currently have their VIP entrance.
It's a member entrance.
Yeah, so like there's a drop-off. So that would go away. So what we're trying to do, especially with a potential addition that would include the Florida Orchestra, that whole area would just have to be reworked.
Okay.
So that's what that VIP entrance is. And then we were creating a sort of beacon, glass little tower. That really would become what I would think is the main entry for the Mahaffey. Coming from the garage, coming from the street, coming from the plaza. You would see the M and the Mahaffey Theater component. That's really what we're talking about.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I wanted to get clarity because it seemed like a lot of people would walk into it at that point. And then, Beth, you also said member entrance. Yeah, like, public facility and VIP. Those are things that, I don't know, it's kind of oil and vinegar to me, but okay. So I appreciate the clarity there. The last thing that I have, completely unrelated as well. I know that this has been discussed in other places remind me if we've ever had this discussion in this context of this conversation, but maybe like, just blurted out, pedestrianization of Bayshore or the removal of Bayshore, was that contemplated? And I know we've contemplated it at times in the past, but I can't remember any of the details.
It wasn't, at least in my situation with this, it hasn't been contemplated as part of this, my portion of the Center for the Arts work.
Well, it did come up in some of our discussions, especially with the Chamber of Commerce, and the Waterfront Foundation, but it kind of like, it becomes a limit of how far we take the master plan. But that is certainly an opportunity. I mean, if you close it down to pedestrians, what it could do is extraordinary. But it does enter a whole nother world of street closures and other stuff. But those discussions did come up in some of our meetings.
I feel like it was actually the last administration that talked about it some. It was before my time. Yeah, I see some people in the room shaking their heads, nodding their heads, excuse me, up in agreement. And so, okay, yeah, I just didn't know if that had been, I assumed someone would have brought it up to you. It's something, I don't know the scope of what you're trying to accomplish, but maybe something to just keep in the back of our minds.
Yeah, there were some great ideas too from some of the groups. One that really stood out, and I think even Mahaffey Theater folks were like, man, that's really cool. But the idea of like a barge stage out in the water, come right up to the plaza. You could have a concert right there with the stage on the water.
Oh, wow.
But there's so many different factors.
Yeah, that's a lot, yeah.
I mean, one of the things too was making sure both the Dolly and the Mahaffey especially, when there are major events, having as many egress points for cars, right? So like the main entry that we've created, they will use that all the time. People will go towards first. They'll also go down Bayshore. And having those routes are so critical for just people having comfortable pathways to get out. And then Fourth stays open as well. So from the garage, that's another egress point for the garage. Also another entry point for the garage.
Yeah. That makes sense. I mean, I bring it up, our waterfront is, I think, what makes the city, a big part of what makes the city a special place, and more access to it is really where my mind went whenever I brought that topic up. So, okay, all right, glad to know that that's being contemplated, and I'll keep that part of the conversation as we move forward. All right, the last thing actually that I have here, I'm just looking at an aerial picture. I feel like last time, correct me if I'm wrong, the area, how do I describe this? Where you're describing like a hill so people can sit and watch the Grand Prix.
Yeah.
There's a parking lot across from that now. That was green space in the last presentation, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was green space that was connected to a potential outdoor amphitheater.
Yeah. So, and it's back to parking now. Just wanted you to speak to that a little bit. The decision I know there's no amphitheater contemplated in this, but the decision to make it parking instead of not just green space, but I personally see an opportunity to continue that, like, I don't know, you have storefronts along First, like that's an opportunity to kind of continue something like that, so you can make it a more logical connection to the more activated spaces to the north.
Yeah, you could definitely add some structures. I think even in the previous presentation with an amphitheater, we were always keeping that little, that would be the northwest corner of parking that wraps around the Grand Prix track portion. We always kept that because I think we were looking for just additional parking. Surface parking. So we decided to keep it. We could maybe show a plan of that.
Nope.
I'm on slide 42. That's a good view.
I'll keep going.
Oh, the last one's good too.
This one or more?
This is fine. It's fine.
So I think, with this, we were maintaining, like you could make it all green space.
Yeah, that would. I just wondered, what the thought, if there was a need for the parking or what.
I think there is, because if you recall what we proposed previously, if this was not here, you have so much flexibility in terms of what you can build. And we proposed the garage actually getting expanded over to this side. So obviously, without that sort of 400 to 500 additional cars, we went up. We were able to get 1,250 here, but this is about 75 to 100 or something like that. So when you add up all the surface parking that we have plus the garage, we're at about 1,500. Which, so if we take it away, it's just you'll have parking complaints.
We're gonna have them either way.
Yeah. So we maintained that just for convenience purposes and thought that potentially was enough green space, but you could even propose structures here.
Yeah, that's, my mind went to, this is, the far south part of like our downtown essentially, and trying to make sure that there's no real impediment to people just continuing to flow from one area to the other. And I just saw that parking lot, and thought, green space, sure, that's a good way, but also you moved retail further north as well, or I can't remember, but you've got the retail in the Rowdy's building contemplated. If there was something up there that attracted people that could be sort of the bridge to the rest of it. That's all I was thinking. And a parking lot is not a bridge to this area is all I was thinking.
Right,
Yeah.
a bridge on the First Street side,
First,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and as a matter, I think that's a great point. I mean, even in the waterfront master plan,
Mm-hmm.
First Avenue, First Street was actually set up and hopefully designed to be as maximized retail or basically business enhancement essentially.
Okay.
But we were just trying to balance the parking.
All right, I appreciate that. Yeah. I will also though there's a new Sunrunner stop not too far from that corner as well, just maybe a couple blocks away. So I would encourage people to look into that if they want to get to this part of the city. But okay, thank you very much for all of that. I appreciate it. It does look like you took our feedback into account, and that's always grateful. I mean, when it comes to moving forward on this, it's going to be just us balancing the city's needs versus our desires to create recreation opportunities for our residents. So that'll be what's in mind, and so we'll get into that in more detail as time goes on. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councilmember Fig Sanders.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. And I think I'm going to start pretty much where I left off the last presentation. The buildings are beautiful, and I'm looking at the employment and earnings piece of that. But it is in my experience that a lot of our residents, especially the ones that I serve, we're looking at the housing shortage that we have and the cost it is to live here. So when I look at and I see where it says that we're providing so much in labor income, further supporting household stability and consumer activity throughout the region. I'm big on live local. I'm big on supporting local. A large part of the positions are construction and supplier roles. None of those are local. So those are very short-term benefits, economic benefits to the city of St. Petersburg. And I just want to voice my recommendation that the number of dollars you're asking the city to invest, the city can actually benefit from those dollars that we're investing. Because from what has been transmitted to me from a lot of this is that a lot of these are not local. A lot of, we haven't tried to imply that we're going to try to use local talent in developing this beautiful location in the city of St. Petersburg. So I just don't want us to lose, sight that, yes, it may bring us revenue, but a lot of the people that are leaving the city of St. Petersburg. So when you actually calculated the amount of income that we would get, so hopefully there have been competitive rates that you're using to come up with these numbers. Not the minimum wage, hopefully they're very competitive, so that we can definitely offer these opportunities. Also, I have on here Saturday morning market. Do we own the Saturday morning market?
No.
Do we get income from the Saturday morning market?
No.
Okay, so, but they're included in this building process a whole lot, I've heard. So we do have other options. So are those same markets or shops still going to get the same opportunity? Because I haven't heard anybody else's. That was one of my questions the last time. I haven't heard any, and I'll be specific, Saturday shops.
Yeah, the area would be open to all. We specifically met with the Saturday morning market mainly because the vision would potentially displace where they are currently.
Mm-hmm.
So we wanted to make sure that we would be able to host the Saturday morning market and truthfully any other types of markets that would need that infrastructure.
So did you reach out to any of that? I think that was my question.
We did not.
Okay, so I'm
I apologize.
asking again
Okay.
today. Thank you. And the reason why I'm asking that is because if we're going to actually, provide taxpayers' dollars on this, I don't see how we can separate where those taxpayer dollars come from. So I don't want to assume that those taxpayers' dollars are going to be inclusive versus exclusive. The pieces of this, I've heard, us talk about member room and VIP access and things like that. I didn't see anything about intentional, equitable elements in this process. Like, for example, the Mahaffey. I love the fact that they have their community schools come, they bring children. They literally do include everyone from the community. I didn't see anything in this about community intentionality in regards to one of the benefits. I hadn't seen that. I'm that person, and I don't apologize for it. I am that person, because I want to make sure that we still send a message that it is going to be intentionally inclusive. But I didn't see that anywhere in here.
Yeah, I don't think we did that.
No, you didn't.
We could probably have our economic team just update it.
Okay. And also when Councilmember Floyd talked about an impediment to the expense, I see some of the dollars in here and what some of those impediments are in regards, and I know that, and I may have missed it, but when it comes down to the long-term revenue versus the initial investment that we as a city are doing, did I miss that in this presentation? Has that ever been presented?
No, we didn't go that deep into the analysis.
And the reason why I asked that question is because we're doing a whole lot of visuals, but we didn't go that deep. Well, the deep part is what's going to kill us, and that's trying to find out how we're going to fund it. Because we can agree to tear this down, build this here, put this up, move this, but if we don't know how much that's going to cost or get us some type of guesstimate as to what that may cost taxpayers' dollars, I think that'll have a whole lot of impact on the design of what it is that we're looking to do.
We did do probable cost, sort of, and that's what's placed into this economic analysis.
Yeah.
But it's probable cost. I mean, it's not what I'd call a detailed analysis, because at this level of design, we're not providing the details of exactly those components. Fortunately, we have estimates that we could get from the Dolly. We have ideas and estimates even that we talked to what the Florida Orchestra is contemplating in terms of what they need for their budget as well. And then we have general good ideas of what a garage is going to cost in today's dollars. And then an understanding of what, really significant amount of this is green space and parkland and what that would cost, and an understanding of dealing with utilities. So we put a very, I'd say, educated guesstimate together, and then that information is what we had our economic team sort of take and break down from a construction standpoint, and then what it means. If we're asked to go into more detail on cost, we could do that. I mean, it's
well, and the reason why I say that, because if I want to build a house, I know what my income will support. So I want to know, do we know in a guesstimate what our income will support in supporting this financially with taxpayers' dollars? I love this. Beautiful. Yeah. I would love the green space.
No, I haven't.
Outside pavilion, but I need to know if my household, I need to know what I'm working with. And I guess, something of this nature, because I absolutely love it. And it would definitely beautify downtown, and it would definitely bring tourists to the city of St. Petersburg, but at what cost? That's the piece that we haven't had, at what cost. Sure. So the money part of it is very important to me. So the intentionality piece and really knowing what we're working, because I don't want us to, yes, they say build and they will come. Well, just in case you haven't seen our budget meetings, we're always told we don't have it. So we can't build before we know they're going to come. So just my 2 cents. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. So since we're talking about cost, I'll start there. I've got a few questions. And I do want to point out that this is a study. This isn't the firm that would actually be doing the design and build, anything like that. So, and with, one of the reasons that we wanted you working on this is because we know that you know how to look at these things and give us those estimated costs. I notice in that, like just looking at the phase one probable cost with contingency, that it includes the Dali Museum, which is, you know, they're raising their own money. The Florida Orchestra is raising its own money. The Mahaffey, the current operator, raises money. There's contribution into this that goes beyond the city. So, you know, if you look at 243.8 million, that isn't all city dollars. We can think about things like the in-town CRA and that funding. We've talked about things that are needed at the Mahaffey right now. So all of that kind of comes together, but as a concept, I like this progression from the first meeting to this one. Really, the questions and suggestions I have are the things that I'm not so sure about are small compared to the overall picture here. I love that it has so thoughtfully taken into consideration the players that are already there that have made it so successful. I love that the waterfront master plan has been taken into consideration because that is a plan that kind of stops here as far as the implementation so far. So I love picking up where that leaves off. Well, I'll go to this picture that's in front of us here, and we were talking about that parking lot on First Street. And I wonder if the picture before or after that kind of shows more of the, must be, oh man, I shouldn't have asked.
That one?
Yeah, let's look at that one. So you see the, since that's in the northwest corner there, and to create some green space that's over on the eastern side of it, you've still got folks who are going to walk by on First Street, walking by a parking lot.
Yeah.
And so I just wonder if you can, if the parking lot can be moved eastward a little bit so that you've got a little, maybe less, but green space on both sides, even if it's narrower. I'm sorry, I really hate these technical, like this is a meeting that needs visuals. But do y'all know what I'm talking about? Like maybe if the parking could be just shifted over.
To add a green buffer on the.
So you've
street
got
side or
green
something.
space and landscaping on both sides. And maybe more of the berm effect on the east side, but on that west side of the block, just a space that has room for beautiful landscaping.
Yeah.
I think would be good, and I don't think that would disrupt the market or anything like that, or the parking logistics. For that,
Just gonna leave it just like that. Forget that full screen thing.
so with the addition of the building for the Rowdies or for Al Lang, that ends up being sort of next to where the parking garage is going to go. I do have a concern about the sight lines being interrupted on First Street as you're looking. There's one image that kind of shows what we don't want on our waterfront, which is two large buildings hovering right by the sidewalk. And that, I'm sorry, this is, it's the trouble with the longer presentations is they're great, but then you got to find what, oh, so 35 is the slide that I was looking for, if you could possibly find that again.
One more.
No, I mean, you can kind of see, this is the one. All right, that doesn't look like our waterfront. And I think, although I understand how the purpose is served, how these buildings serve certain purposes, and it may not be as bad as it looks in this picture, but this picture would receive some pushback from the community on the view corridors to the water. So I have just a bit of a concern with that. With these buildings and, oh yeah, because that one's the garage, are these at an appropriate height, FAA
Yes.
wise? Okay. Oh, that's good.
They're all lower than the map.
All right, good. How does this overall concept fit in with the Innovation District Master Plan that is a little further along than this? They're next door to each other, and I want like a seamless flow from one to the next.
I've only just recently gotten into the Innovation District Master Plan. I'll be meeting with Allison and her group. It's supposed to be this week, but it'll be next week. So we've only had general discussions about this.
Okay.
I think they've attended through the downtown partnership. Some of they've given feedback through that.
Mhm.
But yeah.
Thank you, and thank you again for being such a rock star. Maybe it might be easier for you or the administration to send us a list of the things that you are not in charge of right now.
Only do my part.
Yeah, but, well, you do great. So that is something, if you can follow up with me on that, and I'll have a conversation with Allison about it too. But I do want to make sure that we have a nice flow.
Yes.
No matter how we move forward. And that's one of the reasons that Chris and I had originally wanted this to get going while the Innovation District Master Plan was taking place, because they are neighboring plans. The sightlines.
They liked this before. Doesn't like it now.
Another thing with the additional building for Al Lang is that it has that parking next to it, and I think you had said that that was for the offices.
Staff or players.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
And also visitors for the team store, that type of thing. Right?
yeah, we just want to be mindful of a parking lot next to a parking garage, and
Right.
yeah, it still seems quite car-centric. But we do need to make sure we have enough parking in that area at the same time. So it's tricky. We want there to be enough parking, but we don't want it to look like all parking all over the place, yeah. All right, I think that's all I have, except I'd like to know what's next, and anything that you need, any further input that you need from this committee today.
I don't think we need any further input from this committee at this point. I think it's for us to kind of go back, tweak some of these things, review with again with administration, and as you said, look at the resources and the priorities and where this would fit in, and to certainly go back and look at the revenue potential and put that together and get that back to you all, what the revenues would look like, and also meet with some additional stakeholders just to make sure that we've got, or potential stakeholders to make sure we've got that. So I think we would get back to you with some of the potential revenues, obviously get back to administration with what those could be, make sure we're looking at the resources, as you mentioned, that would be coming from the orchestra, the Dolly, those types of things, and really give you a better financial picture of what this would look like or could look like long-term.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. And I understand that this isn't so much a time to figure out the programming. This is really about the buildings, but examples of the programming kind of helps to understand how everything will work together. So that's great. What does your timeline look like? When would you want to come back to this committee with those findings early next year?
Yeah, I think that would be great.
Sounds like there's just a little bit
Yeah.
to do now. So, okay.
Maybe in the spring, give me a little bit of time to get baseball going.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
Early
absolutely.
spring.
Did you have another question?
Yeah. I just wanted to add to that a little bit. Something I mentioned in the last meeting but really didn't come up is, and it's come up a little bit here, I want to be explicit though. just what we anticipate the needs are in the area. Like,
Yes.
yeah, like there are financial needs that if we were to say like, okay, this plan's nice, but we're not gonna move forward with it, but there's still a bunch of money that needs to be spent there, particularly
Yes.
on the Mahaffey, just to have that be part of the conversation.
Yes, and we're working on that. I've got
Yeah.
garage numbers, but we're working on theater numbers as well as we speak. And so, yeah, we want to present a financial picture.
Yeah, let me make sure I understand. The garage needs work too, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Yeah, so there's a couple of big things which are, honestly, I mean,
Yeah.
that's the bulk of what we need to do in general. So having that comparison will make, I think, lower the barrier to us discussing like, okay, maybe we can move forward with all of this, especially if we have revenue projections as well. I think that could make this, grease the wheels of this whole process. Yeah. Okay, that's all. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. And it could end up being that we have 3 phases instead of 2,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
Good.
And some things, yeah, are needed sooner than others. So.
Yeah, for sure. All right, good. Well, thank you. And we'll just stay in touch as to figuring out the return date on this one. But thank you so much. This is more exciting every time I see something new from it. So thanks for all that you're doing.
You're welcome.
Thank you for your feedback. We appreciate it very much.
Committee members, since we have a few minutes, I wanted to just quickly go through the referral list and try to do some cleanup on that as we wrap up the year. And so I will start out with a couple of my items. Item number 8 is the creation of the Legacy Business Program, and that is actually something that I think should be taken off the referral list. As when we last spoke with staff, we advised them to go for it, and they were planning on a January launch. I have confirmed that that might be February, but it is still in progress. And it wasn't Beth that told me. Someone else is working on it, so.
Yes, there are
Yeah.
many people with this.
Yeah, so Brittany and others are working on getting that Legacy Business Program done. And so I believe to take something off the referral list, I need to ask for a motion to do so. So I'll entertain a motion to remove item number 8 from the referral list.
Yeah, so moved, yeah.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, so item 8 has been removed. And then item number 9 on in the box, and I brought it forward, and then immediately we needed to stop because of state preemption threats, and it just continues to be an issue even with other seemingly unrelated bills that have passed in Tallahassee since I brought this forward. And, you know, as much as, I mean, I don't want to give up on the concept, but it's really not going to be, legally, it's not really going to be feasible for us to discuss it anytime soon. And so I would like to remove number 9 from the referral list in hopes that maybe someday down the road, another council member, when I'm gone, will see that there is a pathway to bring it forward again. So I'll entertain a motion to remove item 9 from the referral list. Okay, so we have a motion. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. The motion passes. Number 9. Anyone else? Councilmember Fix Sanders, you were?
Yeah, I want to keep both of mine on here because I don't even have a,
You have number 3 and 5.
yes, most definitely.
Do you have a date for that, for either of those yet?
No. I was
Okay,
waiting on that.
just
Okay.
keep Brian posted. Anyone else have any questions or changes to suggest for the referral list? All right, well, since there's no other business on our agenda for today, the next meeting of the Economic and Workforce Development Committee will be on January 22nd, 2026, and this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Behind me is our new History Center, which we're so excited to have and present to you. And you'll notice in the window we have our founder, George Turner Sr., just as he was in 1940. The Gardens is really a family story. It's a story about the Turners that started with George Sr. and then continued through 3 generations. Today, all of you are part of Sunken Gardens history. All of you are here for this historic moment as Sunken Gardens continues to make history.
This was originally the entrance in 1940. Was about 4 years after they decided to make a go of having an attraction as opposed to selling fruits and vegetables. Over the years, it changed usage. When I was a girl, it was what we called the drink stand. More recently, it's been used as an overnight birdhouse to keep the birds safe. But now it's our new history center. To see my grandfather in the window, it's icing on the cake. It's like he's there overseeing his garden.
St. Petersburg citizens in 1999 voted to tax themselves to save Sunken Gardens. That almost never happens. So my hope is that people understand the importance of historic sites like this, historic gardens, historic places that really give Florida its character. They're the reason that we want to live here. We need to preserve them, and I really hope people fall in love with it all the more and understand the importance of preserving it.
District 3 spans parts of eastern and northeastern St. Pete. Bordered to the east by Tampa Bay, it's a slice of everything that makes St. Pete special. Vibrant neighborhoods, convenient city amenities, and abundant access to nature. Hi, I'm Mike Harding, your City Council member for District 3. Here in District 3, we have 18 parks, including Shore Acres Mini Park, where I'm standing today. From intimate neighborhood spaces, like this one, to larger destinations like Fossil Park, there's something for everyone. Want to visit Willis S. Johns Rec Center? Got it. Pickleball courts? Absolutely. Skate park? Check. And yes, there's a pool too. We're also home to the newest rec center in the city, Shore Acres Rec Center, with 6 swimming pool lanes, 2 diving boards, and spaces for community gatherings. It's become a central hub for the neighborhood. Looking for golf lessons or just a place to hit a bucket of balls? Visit Mangrove Bay Golf Course, where you'll find a full pro shop and the Cypress Links Par 3 course right next door. But what I love most about District 3 are the neighborhoods. I grew up right here in Shore Acres, spending my grass cutting money at an arcade and pizza joint where LCC's middle school campus now stands. Shore Acres is a tranquil waterfront community. Like its neighbor Snell Isle, it's just 5 minutes from the buzz of downtown, but feels worlds apart. Drive 5 minutes west and you'll wind through the hilly, tree-lined streets of Allendale. Hard to believe you're still in St. Pete. District 3 is also packed with amenities. We've got a boat ramp, 2 fire stations, a library, a water plant, a brush site, and 25 bridges. Sports organizations like Northeast Little League and the St. Pete Raiders Soccer Club are woven into our community. And yes, you'll find me refereeing youth soccer on the weekends. That's what District 3 is all about. Family-friendly neighborhoods, plenty of outdoor space, and top-notch city services. It's where I grew up, and it's where my wife and I raise our daughters today.
It feels like my whole career, I've just found a job, but never the job. Finding the perfect job that suits my life has always been challenging. I've always sort of just felt like a number at the places where I worked, so I think that I'm ready to find a job that will give me the benefits that I deserve. They always say that you're only as strong as your own network, so I'm expanding that. Beginning today, I'm asking anyone and everyone I meet if they know where I should work. Hey, don't you wish that you had a job that would contribute to your retirement fund without having to contribute your own money?
You should work where I work then.
It probably makes sense that I can't find the perfect job situation. I mean, who would ever leave if you had it so good? Hey, wouldn't you freak out if you could find a job that would provide you with a doctor that you could see anytime, without a copay even?
Yeah, and how about most common prescriptions too?
Yeah. Wait, is that a thing?
Yeah, you should work where I work.
Everyone always says, find a job you love and you'll never work a day in your life. But I feel like a job like that doesn't actually exist. It's just a thing that you can say. Hey. You know what I want? I want a job that carries over my sick and vacation leave, instead of it just going away if I don't use it.
Well, you should work where I work.
Maybe my expectations are too high. Maybe a job is just a job. I mean, who really works somewhere that has the perfect package? Hey, little guy. You have a maid, don't you? I should take a page out of your book. Get a job without a desk.
I don't have a desk.
Wish I could find that job.
Well, you should work where I work.
I'm starting to think that there is a place that has the benefits that matter to me. A place where I can find a solid work-life balance, but there's no way there's any job possibilities, right?
You really should work where we work.
Wait, you guys too?
Yeah, man, there's plenty of job opportunities at the city of St. Pete.
Where would I even begin?
Easy. Just go to stpete.org/jobs and then go from there.
Oh, I have to go.
Okay, wait. He's got our mic.
I need to work where they work.
Cut. Did it!
Dear reader, you are loved more than you know.
Keep smiling and shining and being who you are.
The world is lucky to have you.
Happy Pride to you. Celebrate like you should.
Life would be dull without you in it.
Keep shining bright.
Sunshine face.
You are so loved. Do not let anyone ever tell you different.
St. Pete loves you.
We need you. We appreciate you. Thank you for being you.
You are beautiful just as you are, and you make our city more beautiful because you are a part of it.
You make the world more colorful.
You make the world brighter.
Never give up. You are loved for exactly
Who you are.
I promise. The world needs you in it.
Hey guys, Ken Welch, Mayor of St. Petersburg. Now I'm with Dex Fabian, the publisher of I Love the Burg. Thank you for being here with us on our Sunrunner tour. Tell us how this changes life in St. Petersburg.
Coming from New York, one of the things I missed was mass transit. And I think having something like the Sunrunner now actually happening in St. Pete after so long, it's a game changer. Riding it today, it got us from point A to point B so much faster. Don't have to worry about parking. It just makes life so much easier for locals and even tourists.
And I think it helps us to change the culture. We really don't have a transit culture here.
Yeah, so I think this is a good starting point for more developments in our mass transit system.
Thank you for being with us, Dex. We'll talk to you next time on our Sunrunner tour.
talk a little bit about the Vinoy, because it, back in the day, used to be a big, major building in town that would catch people's eye right away, and they'd ask questions about it. What is this thing? The gentleman who built it was Amer Vinoy Lofner. And the story goes, and this goes into the category of lore again, I think, but he and his wife had a place on Beach Drive, right across from where that Vinoy would be built. And they were having a party that went on to 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m. And at some point, he bet Walter Hagen, one of the era's foremost golfers, that he couldn't drive a golf ball off the crystal of his watch without breaking the crystal. And he said, if you can do that, then I'm going to build a big hotel over there. It was no big deal for Hagen. He stepped up, whack, 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 3 balls. This was in about 1923, and Lofner was a man of his word. He built that hotel. It took him about 11 months, and I believe it opened on New Year's Eve of 1925. Rui, does that sound right?
It did.
PCCA, Gibbs High, was high school that was invented because initially black people didn't go much beyond the 6th or 7th grade. And they created it. And then they put this performing arts magnet there. And I remember the first time I went there, just the art in the hallways that was from students, very sophisticated. And I thought, who wouldn't want a job there teaching motivated, talented young people? And obviously you were called because you taught. How long did you teach at Gibbs?
I believe I taught for 9 years, 8 or 9 years. Yeah, a long time. I think teaching at PCCA for those years made me a better artist. Working with young artists and inspiring young artists. But beyond the inspiration, teaching them how to coexist as artists in the community. They did not seek artists who were teachers. First, you didn't have to have a teaching degree to work in the magnet.
I didn't know that.
No, they wanted you to be an artist first. So you came with your artist degree or your art, and then from there, once you were inside, because I didn't have a teaching degree, once you were inside, once you got hired, then they put you through, Pinellas County School District has a phenomenal program so that you could get your teaching license. They wanted all of their educators to be working in the community so that their students had the opportunity to network and with the community members so that it strengthens the school and it also strengthens the community. And I think that was very important. I think it's a pivotal part of the program. I think it's a thing that makes it successful. And then not just the community as in St. Pete or the Southeast region, but our national community too. Because so many of our artists, visual and performing artists, have gone on to do great things. Broadway, LA, and beyond, tours, all those things, yeah.
You know, the other day I was down close to the ballpark and I stopped at a fountain to get a drink, and a woman came up to me and said, you know, that's really the fountain of youth. You're going to turn younger. Do you have any idea what she was talking about?
Do you feel younger?
I do.
Good, it must have worked then. Our first tourist attraction here in St. Petersburg. You know, what allegedly Juan Ponce de Leon came looking for, we have here in St. Pete. A gentleman by the name of Edwin Tomlinson came to St. Petersburg and purchased a tremendous amount of land and owned actually land from 4th Street all the way down to the water, kind of where the Mahaffey Alang is today. He decided one day to do some drilling because he saw a natural well and he hit it, I guess it was an artisan well. And when the water came onto shore, think the people in St. Petersburg were going to run him out of town because it smelled really bad. It was, I think, the story I read, someone equated to a dozen raw eggs being broken open in an August afternoon in Florida set on the sidewalk. I don't know who was brave enough, but someone drank it. They tasted the water and they actually felt pretty good, and it made them feel good. And before you know it, word got out. St. Pete had this reputation of being the healthiest city in the, in the nation. People were coming and filling their water jugs and drinking the water, and everybody was feeling great. And then someone finally had to test the water, and they did, and had an unbelievable amount of lithium in it.
Oh my gosh! So
what does lithium do?
That would calm you down.
Happy
right?
Water, right? So of course it was, the fountain of youth. Everybody was drinking, and they were happy, and they were great. So finally, it got shut down and capped, and regular potable water came
Why
through.
are we drinking beer? We should have.
We should have the water from the fountain of youth. It made everybody younger again.
Hey, that's my house, and this is my ASMR video about water conservation. I use water wisely. Ever have a drippy sink? You should fix it to not waste water, and also not to go crazy with that dripping noise. Look there, that's my automatic shut-off hose attachment. Super water conservative. Even when nature calls, I call nature and I say, "Hi, I'm conserving water with my high-efficiency tank." Okay, bye. Oh, hey, that's me. Just using my high-efficiency washer. Just listen to the sounds of water being conserved. Go to this website to learn more, St. Pete, and do what you can for water conservation.
Moved to St. Pete in 2014. We drove around and walked around different neighborhoods and noticed that they had events, community gatherings, cleanups, signage, cool logos, flags, all kinds of stuff like that. And I thought, I wonder why we don't have that. For the longest time, one of the things that annoyed us was anytime we met locals from St. Pete, one of the first questions they would ask us is, what neighborhood do you live in, right? And so people would say, well, I live in Kenwood, or I live in North Kenwood, or I live in Old Northeast, or Old Southeast. And we would just say, we're that neighborhood north of North Kenwood.
When we were initially looking at this house, on Zillow they had it listed as North Kenwood, which we thought was a bit of a stretch.
A little bit of a chin scratcher.
Yeah, I think they were trying to kind of just jump on the Kenwood bandwagon.
We wanted to have an identity. We wanted to have something that we could be proud of, but also that our neighbors could be proud of together.
We went into this just wanting to organize a neighborhood association, and we didn't realize how much it would change our lives for the better.
About a year ago, I joined up and became part of the core team reviving the neighborhood association, and as part of that, we decided to really start fresh, and we interviewed, asked neighbor input and talked about coming up with a new name.
I started doing some research and realized that we actually did have a name. We were Highland Grove neighborhood. Highland Grove was actually a much larger neighborhood, and we decided to split the neighborhood into two smaller neighborhoods. On the west side of 28th Street, a neighborhood formed called Station View, and on the east side of 28th Street, our neighborhood formed, and our neighbors voted to call it St. Pete Heights.
So St. Pete Heights is an amazing location, actually. It's pretty central. Our big intersections are 30th Ave North and 38th Ave North. We make up a kind of a perfect square in the center there, also from 275 over to 28th Street North.
The more people start to see the name, hear the name through things like signage, which we're working on now, flags and other merchandise. We just got our branding done by a local St. Pete artist.
I am the guy behind the St. Pete Heights branding project.
I work with the committee closely to come up with a new brand identity that represents who they really are. From the beginning of the project, our goal was to create something that can represent the people of the neighborhood. As opposed to when you're working with a business, you're thinking about the customers in mind. In this case, we wanted to represent the community, the people, and some of the things that makes them unique. My job was to find a way to tell their story through a visual identity, through beautiful typography, colors, and something that is able to showcase their passion behind the love for the neighborhood.
People are going to have pride to be in this neighborhood. It's a new neighborhood. People don't necessarily know what St. Pete Heights is, probably never heard of it. Once they start seeing the logo on, signs, flags, shirts, things like that, it'll become more identifiable, and I feel like it'll bring more of a sense of community to the neighborhood.
The more they see these types of things, the more inclined they're going to be to care about their neighborhood and to want to feel invested in the community. It'll just be a domino effect where over time it will become bigger, better, and a place that people just love even more.
I can't wait to put that flag up in front of my house. I can't wait. It's gonna look really cool.
One of the things that we do in the Neighborhood Association is have care days. There are opportunities for the neighbors to come together and volunteer, oftentimes to beautify, clean up. It really can be anything. But the most recent one we did was a Drains to Bay project, where we put the signs that say Drains to Bay on the storm drains. We did every one in St. Pete Heights.
We had a day where we put signs that say Drains to the Bay on all of our storm drains, so people know that any water that go into the storm drains will wind up in the bay, so they're more careful about that.
When we do these care days, we're walking around the streets. Like, how often do you just walk around the streets of your neighborhood doing something like cleaning up? Or people notice that. Neighbors notice that and want to know, like, what are you guys doing? And then we get to talk about the Neighborhood Association. We even had one guy join in.
I would say it's very worth it. We've met so many incredible people in our neighborhood that we didn't even know lived just doors down from us. Had it not been for the Neighborhood Association, had it not been for this initiative that we had, none of that would have been possible. And to me, those human connections are really what it's all about.
Water is an issue in the state of Florida. Do you know where our original water source was?
Back in the day, I believe it came from what we call Mirror Lake today. And back then, because it served as the city's reservoir, they imaginatively called it Reservoir Lake. And it supplied the city water for quite some time. And during the Spanish-American War, there would be troop deployments come over from Tampa to get water from the lake so that they could take back to the troops who were waiting to embark to Cuba.
They did. I remember seeing a newspaper article from the day the ships were leaving Tampa, and it almost became chaotic because a number of the ships that left Tampa had to come to St. Petersburg, take on water, go back to Tampa. The speedier ships wanted to leave Tampa and hurry and invade Cuba, and it became just some craziness in the middle of Tampa Bay there.
It would have been chaotic.
Very chaotic.
name is Lisa Fleming. My business is Dress Up Studio. It's actually a boutique, one of the newest boutiques in downtown St. Pete, on the corner of First Avenue North and 6th Street. I'm from Puerto Rico, and in Puerto Rico, fashion is big. I guess like everything started back with, you know, my parents, right? Like especially my mom. My mom loves fashion, and of course, you know, when she had her 4 kids, like everything kind of like all the attention like turned into us. So I was, you know, early introduced to fashion. I had a passion for it, so I really wanted to have a space where I could find pieces, you know, for any occasion. I was in an environment that was highly dominated by male, and I wanted to obviously, you know, keep it professional, but still be true to myself. And, you know, fashion was that, you know, way to really, you know, be able to have fun. St. Pete is very special in the sense that it truly supports small businesses. And I really feel like when you go out there and you have the opportunity to really engage with other business owners, they're extremely helpful as well. And I think that's incredibly valuable. There's something in here for every single person. They just need to come in and play with us.
So a gentleman by the name of Percy Fansler had an idea of using an airplane, because back then flight was basically just a novelty, right? So a lot of air shows and stuff like that, so that he had an idea of flying from point A to point B on a schedule, just like a train. Unheard of, but who the heck would do that? Nobody was gonna fly on a plane when you had a good old train. They arranged for Thomas Benoit and his airboat company to come to St. Petersburg. Roger and Tony Janis came with them, their chief pilot and mechanic / engineers. January 1st, 1914, they pushed that bad boy, that Benoit airboat, into the water, and 22.5 minutes later, landed in Tampa in the world's first commercial airline flight. Would you have flown in that plane?
I believe I would have. I think I would have.
I look at Woodlawn as probably the most neighbor-friendly, kid-friendly neighborhood that I've ever lived in. It's a wonderful neighborhood to grow up in. I wish I was a kid growing up in this neighborhood.
It's a real family-oriented community, super close to downtown, and it's just kind of one of those picturesque, nice, quaint little neighborhoods.
I think what was really cool about the neighborhood is it's different compared to a lot of the other neighborhoods where part of it is on the circles. So as soon as we drove in on the neighborhood looking for a house, I just knew that this neighborhood had kind of some extra character to it.
Woodlawn has got a circular style to it, design to it, and you can see from some of these old pictures that there really is a circle or an oval to Woodlawn neighborhood.
My favorite part of the day is driving home. You turn onto our street from MLK, and there's beautiful oak trees, blooming crepe myrtles, and then there's a park. We have a park just at the end of our street. So here in Woodlawn, we have 3 public parks within our community.
We use those parks a lot for our garage sale in the fall. There's cookouts that go on in those neighborhood parks, and they become very handy.
And that's where we have all of the holiday events, all of our neighborhood events, potlucks, things like that. But then on the weekends, you can just kind of go out there and hang out. So I've worked out in the park, take my dog to the park. There's a basketball hoop for the neighborhood kids to hang out. Got it!
As the fall and into the winter and into the holiday season, every one of those little pocket parks gets used for certain events.
Christmas caroling going on during Christmas. There's an Easter egg hunt through the neighborhood. Halloween is huge in this neighborhood.
And then Halloween, you forget about it. It is crazy around here.
Woodlawn likes to party.
So like everything, trees come and go, and a lot of the trees in this neighborhood are laurel oaks, and they've got a time period of about 70 years in their lifespan. And we realized early on that the trees in this neighborhood were going to go away. What we did several years ago as part of a grant is got additional oak trees planted in several of those quadrant parks, just to give a little shade so it's not as hot during the summer. And I would guarantee that 50 years from now, 100 years from now, the folks that are living here in these houses will be looking at those trees, wondering who planted them, and gosh darn it, they got to be getting old. Maybe we need to think about putting some new ones in.
There's so many generations of families here, old houses, new houses, young families, families that have been here for 20 years. But amidst all that, it's just a really cool community feel.
When we saw this house, as scary as it was, we knew it was the house just based on coming into the neighborhood and feeling so welcomed.
And the other interesting thing is about the folks that live in Woodlawn, the majority of them are very passionate about living here.
It's just a very outgoing and nice community.
So the one thing that I would like to lift up and make sure that everybody hears is that there's two Child's Parks. There's the Child's Park that you hear about and that you read about, but then there's my Child's Park. The parameters of Child's Park include 34th Street South to 49th Street, and then 18th Avenue to 5th Avenue South. And that's the Child's Park neighborhood, but the greater Child's Park area actually covers about 3 neighborhoods. It goes to about 1st Avenue to around 30th Avenue South.
I believe through the YMCA, the library, and the Rattlers organization has become very instrumental in helping our youth and children become very productive adults.
The Rattler program into a GAP program that's designed to engage the community, to build family and community and crime prevention by keeping the kids engaged in youth activities.
I think the emphasis for developing youth in Child's Park arises from some statistics that we received, is that Child's Park had the highest concentration of youth in the city of St. Petersburg.
What we promote is family and community. So what we're trying to instill in them with the program is that we are one big family.
Because a lot of the initiatives and things are always they're heavy focused on programming, or some type of, regimen or awareness piece or a pledge or something else. And we felt that it was important to just allow them to have a space to just come and have fun.
We're solely manned by volunteers, and we let them know that too. So we want them to come back and be volunteers, so the torch is just passed on, so we all learning from one another.
They're not just focused on the athletic aspect of it, but they also focus on youth development. So they have a tutoring program that they do.
And with the YMCA, you have the Rattlers and you have the other programs that's offered. When kids get out of school, they have a place to go. They have the library there.
The STREAM Club stands for Science, Technology, Reading, Engineering, Arts, and Math. We meet every Friday afternoon at the Child's Park Library. It's kind of an extra opportunity for them to get some exposure to topics they might not know about or might have heard in school and didn't quite stick. We just give them opportunities to have different kinds of experiences and hands-on experiences at that.
The youth have a place to go and children have a place to come daily. Matter of fact, that's a great thing to help kids get off the street, have a place to go, a safe haven you might call it.
One of my brothers, when we first organized this, he said, we're helping to create their back in the day. And I think that's important because, all of us have our back in the day, and I remember back in the day when we used to do that. So our responsibility as the adults now is to help create the back in the day experience for them. And what's happening today is Friday Night Done Right, an event that we created to create a safe space for children to come on Friday nights where they can be free to be kids. Sometimes you just want to remember when you went to the pool and they let you in for free, you know, and that was it. And that's why I think it's important to help create those type of memories as well.
The Childs Park neighborhood, if anyone would ask about it, I would state that it was often misunderstood.
So I'll encourage people to come and see for themselves. More to Child Park that I've seen more positive in Child Park than I have seen negative.
And my Child's Park encompasses everything that we described today, and I hope that you will gravitate towards that and balance that once you hear the other stories and the other narratives that come out about the neighborhood.
So if you live in St. Petersburg, right, most people know that the world's first commercial airline flight was here.
True.
Right, from St. Petersburg to Tampa. But what a lot of people don't know, could have been disastrous for the whole idea of the whole airline business, the chain came off the sprocket. The engine was basically powering a propeller like a bicycle chain and a bicycle sprocket that turned the propeller. And halfway across the bay, the chain came off. And he had to land the airboat in the middle of Tampa Bay and repair it. Remember when you were a kid and your chain would come off and you have to put it back on, your hands would get all greasy and dirty? Well, him and AC File both had to do that, and they both got their hands all filthy and stuff, but they put it back in the air and they made it. That could have been game-changing for the whole airline industry if the flight didn't work.
If they'd had to come rescue these guys out in the middle of Tampa Bay after all this publicity.
That's exactly right.
My goodness.
Evan?
Yes, sir. My name is Evan. I graduated from St. Pete.
St. Pete High? All right, good to meet you.
My name is Mario.
Mario.
From St. Pete.
Another Green Devil?
We have a license A, B, and C that allow you to move up through the ranks of a treatment plant.
Okay, 1, 2, 3, everybody.
The Mayor's Future Ready Academy is an innovative approach to providing opportunities for our young people and also fulfilling some of our workforce needs in city departments like Parks and Recreation, Sanitation, and Public Works. This was an innovative way that our departments thought to open the doors of opportunity to let our young people know about the career path, not just a job, but a career with the city of St. Petersburg.
Hey, and good morning. Good morning. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna send y'all with a field group. I think one is going to be manhole inspections.
Our Future Ready Academy really consists of going through each department through the city and then learning new experiences through each department and what each department consists of. You get to learn a lot.
Well, I'm with Water Resources Department right now, and we came out here to this manhole to see if the float should be moved.
The blower is ventilating the air right now, pushing all the toxin gas out and bringing fresh air in.
Today, we're trying to get the flow meter changed from one manhole to the next one. And one manhole, there's a lot of sludge, and then the other one, we just found out it is sludge in that one as well.
We have to use a blower to blow all the toxic gas out and put fresh air in the manhole so it's safe for somebody to go down there.
It's a good way to look at what they do behind the scenes. Coming out here, you actually see like they test the waters for how fast it's traveling, and they test the waters like to see like the gases and what's in it.
They clean out at the lift stations things that come through the toilet filtration system. That's like the flush wipes, they're really not flushable or biodegradable. There's just a lot of things that people flush that don't need to be flushed.
Today I'm with Park and Reds, the construction crew.
They building a clay pit. We had to stack all the bricks up and then make our own mix and spread it in so it can lock.
The cadets have opportunities to earn some other certifications outside of the classroom. These cadets were working on their CDLB, which means once they complete this particular program, they will be CDLB certified, which means that they'll be able to operate certain vehicles that you have to have the CDLB permits for.
So y'all did it. I'm proud of y'all. I swear I'm so proud of y'all.
Today I'm with the SPTO department and I'm with the traffic group.
Across the road, there's another pole box. Once we pull it through there, we're gonna run it up the pole and out onto the arm.
Today we were setting up radars, which kind of scan the cars when they pull up the lights, giving signals to the lights so that they could turn.
We have sensors that will see cars. And what we did is we needed to add 2 sensors for north and south coming out of the dog track and coming out of apartment complex.
I've never been up that high, other than in like an airplane, but seeing the wires and how everything works was really cool. I want to have a job with the city so I can start my career, and then from that point on, just keep moving up.
You are a leader. You are important. You deserve everything that you desire. And St. Petersburg is a great place for you to achieve those things. Is that right?
The program was good. At some points it was a little hard to kind of, I guess, keep going, keep pushing through it. But being here today, it's really good. I feel very accomplished.
He started out and he continued and completed everything that he set out to do. So I'm proud of him.
I just think it's incredible when we talk about this program. 9 graduates, 6 full-time opportunities, 3 CDLs, 1 part-time. I mean, it's just incredible to think about what you've accomplished in that time period.
I feel like I'm real proud of myself. I feel like I did a good job throughout the whole program, you know, not giving up and just keep working so I can better myself in life.
I'm just so thankful for the program. It gives him a start in life, and I'm really, really proud of him.
You are the first. You set the standard, and you've proven the concept of this program. We want to make sure that whether you're with us for 5 years or for 50 years, that you know that you have the foundation to move forward in life and achieve anything that you all want to achieve.
I started this company almost 20 years ago out of my parents' garage. Growing year after year after year, you eventually, can grow out of a garage space really quickly. Scooter Cardoza with Trinity Graphics. I'm the owner here, and we do screen printing, embroidery, and promotional products. One of my long-term goals was to have a brick and mortar space. It took us a little over 12 years, but we got this space. Talk about a, kind of like a life-changing moment. We print lots and lots and lots of t-shirts. And then as far as like on the embroidery side, anything you can think of, we can accomplish with putting a logo or a brand on. One of the aspects of screen printing is reclaiming the screens, so you can basically reuse the screen over and over and over and over again. We had about 150 of the wood frames, and thought it would be really cool to do a screen wall. So each screen has some sort of sentimental, meaning behind it. We love what we do, so we're just going to continue to put out, a great product that we stand behind. It's really cool to have a team that believes and has the same passion and will, go the extra mile to do whatever it takes to get the job done. There's been a big push for keeping St. Pete local. It's been amazing to feel that love from the community and local businesses that will allow us to thrive in the community for another 20 years.
Today we had our Contracts and Contacts bus tour in partnership with PSTA and several other businesses and agencies in our area. While the city definitely has tons of opportunities for our small minority women-based businesses, there's no guarantee that you can get on a contract here or there, so they need to know about all the different opportunities that are available to them in our areas.
We want to invest into our community. So for us to educate them and them educate us, it's a win-win for both of us. We also find that the community, when they can actually put their stamp on a project and say, I was part of that, it's just a wonderful sense of accomplishment.
There is lots of opportunity out there, not just within the city, but around the city, in the county even, for them to get work and do work right here locally, close to them. We just want to make sure we have the engagement and increase the likelihood of